Hello, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. It is Susan Pierce Thompson, and I am so happy to be here with you. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining me. We're going to be talking about maintenance. Maintenance, maintenance, maintenance. And we, of course, have our amazing maintenance course coming up. Courses, 3 of them. We'll be launching this first one, The Psychology of Maintenance, this week. So excited. Registration opens today. And I'm going to be covering for you today the 5 key factors, of a program that will support you in maintenance, that will allow you to keep your weight off long term. So go ahead and start making use of the chat. We'll keep the chat open for just a little bit. So put your hellos into the chat. I'd love to hear from you. Hello, 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 everyone. And then once I get going with the presentation, in earnest here in a few minutes, we will pause the chat. But right now we can get your hellos in there. Where are you in the world? Where are you at in your Bright Line Eating journey? Anything else you want to share with us? There will be time for participation using the chat a little bit later in the workshop. It will be a workshop. It will be interactive. And toward that end, there is a poll for you to take. Just some fun key questions. Below the video that shows me, there should be an orange button for you to take the poll. So go ahead and get started on that too. It shouldn't be hard. It shouldn't take long. Melissa Stephen is here, says, hi, it's a good day to have a good day. Sending sunshine and love from Michigan. I love that, Melissa. Thank you so much. Yeah, send that sunshine my way because, oh my gosh, we are not getting any over here in Rochester, New York. I think we're supposed to get some tomorrow, which is good. I'm looking forward. Mary says she's so grateful to be here, everyone. Thank you, Mary. Beautiful. Okay. So let me go ahead and do the outline of what we're going to cover today so you just know what's coming down the pike. So first, we're going to have this introductory time together. Not going to take long with that. I am going to tell you, sort of introduce you to the problem that we're facing here. Like, why are we here on this workshop? Why are you here? Why are you here on this workshop? My guess is that you have tried different things throughout your life to get your eating and your weight into a good flow, into a groove that feels in alignment with your values, in alignment with your desires for your health, that sort of has your body feeling comfortable and right-sized for you. And my guess is that you have struggled to find that flow and keep it over years and decades. That maybe you felt, I know I did certainly, like you were succeeding for stretches of time, and maybe the feeling of that was even euphoric, like amazing. Oh my gosh, I've found the solution finally. And then you watched as over days and weeks and maybe months or years, it unraveled. Things started to get wonky, or maybe you went back to the food in a big explosion of binging or indulging, and found yourself wondering, I thought I had it that time. What happened? And maybe you've gone back to the same plan that worked or seemed like it was working once and tried it again and again with diminishing returns each time. Have you done that? Where you go back to a plan and it's like, oh, never quite the same success as the first time, or maybe you've tried it a few times and then had good success again, but then it fell apart again. Why, when we try so hard, does it keep falling apart on us over time? Why does that keep happening? So that is the kind of thing we're going to be covering today. And I just realized I don't think I was sharing my screen, so you don't see my PowerPoint, which is fine because I didn't really show anything so far except a slide that said introduction, which is fine. All right, we've got some hellos. Angie says hi from Michigan. Michael says hello from Iowa. Liza Lou says, good morning from the San Francisco Bay Area. So excited for the new course. Hi, Liza Lou. Awesome. From my hometown of San Francisco. Allison from Elk Grove, California is here. Wendy says aloha from Hawaii. Hello, Wendy in Hawaii. Good to see you, my dear. Alexandra is here from the Balkans, from Macedonia. Hello, my dear Alex. I'm so glad you're here with us. Mothra 50 says, hello from Denver, Colorado, in Brightline Eating since 2017 and in maintenance since 2018. Oh my gosh, well done. And we are going to be talking about exactly what you have discovered, which is there is something different about Brightline Eating and the way we focus on maintenance and the things we have baked into our program from the beginning to help you succeed. So glad you're here. Well done. Debbie from Calgary, Canada, bouncing around within 5 pounds of goal. That is a common thing, and it's a psychological thing, right? We call it finish line anxiety. We're going to be talking about that a little bit more. That phrase is going to come up a little bit later in this workshop, so stay tuned, Debbie. And Celine says, hi from Belgium. I've started Brightline Eating on maintenance. Excellent, Celine. Beautiful. So glad you're here with us. Excellent. Jeanette Wenzong says, so excited from Gilroy, California. Hi, Jeanette. And Anna is here from Ohio. She's been on Brightline Eating for almost 10 months and she loves it. Beautiful, Anna, welcome. Terry from SoCal. Michelle says, I bounced off my goal weight and now found myself 7 pounds over my goal range. So much change in my life right now. It is really true, Michelle, that life getting lifey can really impact us in our maintenance journey. And there's some psychology to that, right? So the topic of the first course, there will be 3 maintenance courses. And the topic of the first one is the psychology of maintenance. There's so much to that topic. It's incredibly rich. I'll be sharing with you a little later the topics that we will be covering in the course. Looking forward to that. Sue V says, hello from St. Paul, Minnesota. I took the poll. Thank you, Sue. Thank you. Everyone, you can take the poll. There's a orange button down beneath my video where you can take the poll. If you're watching this streaming live on YouTube, you might want to head over to our main replay page or broadcast page so that you'll have access to things like the poll, because on the YouTube broadcast, you won't see that. So all you have to do is just look down below the YouTube video and you should see, we've turned off comments, but you should see a link to go watch this same presentation, but just elsewhere on a different website that will give you access to all the stuff we'll be talking about. You'll probably want to do that. Jean says, hello from Florida. Terry says, I just successfully completed my first Bright week. Terry, I love that. Welcome to Brightline Eating. You're so in the right place. This workshop is going to be very timely for you. I love it. Deb says, hello from Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. Colette from Oregon. Connie from Rochester, New York, right near where I am. Plustig says, hello from sunny Clearwater, Florida. You should be here. Yeah, don't rub it in. My husband, an avid golfer, says that regularly. And Kia Ora from New Zealand, beautiful, says, Ange Vaughn, hello in New Zealand. Maybe that's where I should be. Maybe we should all be in New Zealand. Lily Gale is here. Hi from Oregon. What an exciting beginning. Kay Cotton from Rochester, New York. Rochester, New York is in the house. I love this. We've got Sandy from Connecticut says, so excited for this course. We've got Jennifer says, hello from Utah. Lori from Cape Cod, so happy to be here. Mary Ann from Westwood, New Jersey. Luann Long from Aurora, Colorado in the beautiful Rocky Mountains. Yay for the maintenance course. Oh, I love it. Danica is here from Namibia. Amazing. Welcome, Danica from Namibia. Dawn in Ontario. Roxy from Missouri. Day 575, 89 pounds down. Amazing. I love it. Elodie is here, says, hello, all Brightline eaters, happy and grateful. 15 to go, but easing into maintenance soon. I love it. Okay. So MD is asking, how do we register for the course if we are already a member? I can't find any location in the hub. We'll be covering all about the course at the end of this workshop. So hold on to that. And we're going to go ahead right now and transition to our presentation. So what we're going to do, welcome everyone. If I didn't say your name out loud, I just want to look you right in the eyes right now and say, welcome. I am so glad you are here with this, with me, with all of us for this workshop. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So glad you're here. Okay, so let's pause the chat, please. So we're just gonna Mute the chat. I know the chat is fun, but that's the problem, right? It's too fun. And here's what the research shows when we task switch. So if you're glancing at the chat and then looking at the presentation, you're reading words in the chat that interferes with hearing the words of the presentation. The problem with that is that you don't learn as much. Yeah, that's fine. But the real problem is it kills your enjoyment of the experience. There's research on that showing that when you're multitasking and task switching like that, your experience, your joy, your happiness, your gratitude, not gratitude, but like your feeling of having a good time tanks like really low. And that's terrible. And I don't want you to have a terrible time on this. I want to have fun together. So I'm doing my part to ensure that we all have fun. Is that fair? I'm going to have fun. I want you to have fun. We will have time to get back to the chat in a little bit. Okay. All right, let me share my screen, shall I? Let me share my screen. Okay, here we go. Boom. Okay. The 5 key factors of a program that allows you to keep your weight off long term. There's a lot baked into the structure of a healthy eating regimen, a weight loss program, a formula for managing your food. Whatever you want to call it, I don't care. It's not fashionable to say you're trying to lose weight these days because, you know, we're all supposed to accept our bodies no matter the size. I get it. The challenge is that we all know that it's not good for our knees or our hearts or most of our body, frankly, to be carrying a lot of excess pounds. And a lot of us have eating behaviors that don't feel good on the inside, like mentally, emotionally, spiritually, right? Like we're finding ourselves not able to control our eating, starting to eat, and then losing control over how much we eat, having cravings for certain foods, interrupt our living of our life, our ability to interact with friends and family. And sometimes just the feeling after we eat, not just like, yeah, oh, I ate too much rich fatty food, or I ate too much, you know, sugary food and now I feel dopey or whatever. But I mean like the mental, emotional, spiritual feeling of I am trapped in a way of eating, a way of living that isn't working. It's not right for me. And I can do better. I want to do better. I want to be living differently than this, right? And so I get that, you know, we want to get shame and, you know, judgment and discrimination out of our societal discussion of body size, but that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about us seeking flourishing and alignment and congruence with our health, our bodies, our food, and the flow of our day, so that we're not giving so much of it, so much of our time, our thoughts, our juju, our focus to what we've eaten or not eaten, whether we're on our plan, off our plan, how many miles, how many calories, how many pounds. That madness has got to stop, right? And so many of us have really powerfully well-motivated reasons for wanting to get this problem under control, whether it's that we just feel called, just pure self-actualization, right? Called to our highest best self. And we know as soon as we kind of get quiet, get still, take a workshop, read an inspirational book, whatever it is, and we start to write, and the first thing that comes out is, I got to deal with this food weight problem, right? It's the first thing. It's just jumping off the page at us of like, I've got to deal with this. Or we've got a health condition or some reason why we've got to get a hold of this condition, right? We've got kids or grandkids or a primary relationship in our life, and this is sapping our ability to show up, or we're literally tick-tock thinking, I want to stay alive longer than I'm going to stay alive. I am going to die. I am on a path where I'm going to die too young and in pain from the way I am eating and the way my body is responding to that pattern of eating. It is not working out. This is going bad places, right? Maybe you've already had incidents where your health is kind of cropped up, whether it's, I know someone, I'll be showing her pictures a little later, who got diagnosed with prediabetes. And that was the wake-up call that said, okay, I really do need to do something about this. And Bright Line Eating videos came across her email inbox, and she said, you know what, I think I'm going to give this a try, even though, you know, it sounded extreme. It sounded, you know, she knew people who were in 12-step programs who didn't eat sugar and flour. She wanted nothing to do with what they did. But when this Bright Line Eating message came along, she said, okay, this makes sense. She could see that her eating was out of control, right? So the outline of what we're going to cover today is I'm going to keep talking a little bit more about the introduction. We have a problem. We have a global obesity pandemic. COVID just swept through the world for 2 years. We've all been dealing with that. And what did we do? We learned that suddenly, not only if we ate the way we were eating and if we were overweight or obese, yes, we could get heart disease. Yes, we were more likely to get cancer. But oh my gosh, we could leave the house and, you know, interact in some way, somehow, and boom, suddenly be dead within the month, right? And what did we do with that information collectively as a society? It's stunning. We sat around and ate and got fatter. Like, just think about that for a second. It was in the news within weeks and months. In early 2020, it was in the news that the number one comorbidity that you could have any control over, you can't change your age, right? You can't just be like, oh, COVID hits people who are older, so I guess I'll be 20 now, right? The one thing that you could do anything about that had the biggest impact on COVID right after age was weight. Overweight or obese, COVID is way more likely to have a bad outcome, right? And not necessarily because of any other correlated factor. You didn't have to be overweight with diabetes or with hypertension or with any other measurable issue. Weight alone would do it. Did you read that? Did you catch that? It's the first time ever that weight was pegged as an issue for something, irrespective of any other sort of factor that would explain why. Like, usually it's weight because of the diabetes or because of the hypertension or because of the whatever. This was weight alone. People who were overweight or obese but had no other factors. So when someone says, well, I'm healthy, it's like, don't know about that, right? On the deep inside, something is going on with our brains and our bodies that is screaming for some sort of fix, right? So we have this global obesity pandemic, and 63% of people are dying too young and in pain from the foods that they are putting in their mouth. And collectively, we seem powerless to stop it. We're trying. We are trying so hard that we are spending billions of dollars trying to lose weight, and on average, trying 4 or 5 new attempts each year. It is madness. Whew. Okay, so we're going to keep going with the introduction, but then we're going to do a poll. So be sure you take the poll, because we're going to show the poll results. How do you take the poll? There's a little orange button below my video, and you just click there. It should be short. You can just go do it right now while I'm talking. Don't worry about it. Just go do it right now. I know you for those few moments, you won't enjoy the workshop as much because you'll be multitasking. It's all right. Just go do it. Just go do it. Okay. Then we're going to do the meat of the presentation, which is the 5 key factors of, like, what kind of program should you be looking to work. Now, I know you're here because you're either working Bright Line Eating or you're considering working Bright Line Eating, but that's okay. It still is going to be illustrative because it's going to help us understand what kind of shortcuts not to take in Bright Line Eating, because a lot of people recreate some of the issues within Bright Line Eating that didn't work in those other programs. So that's how this pertains, right? I want you to work your Bright Line Eating program starting now in a way that will set you up for long-term success with maintenance. I've already created the program that way, but let's be clear, not everybody does the program exactly as it's outlined from the beginning with no deviations, right? That's not real life, right? And if you are doing that, great. I mean, I think that's awesome, right? But most of us flex a little here or there, right? We're not going to just be robots going through our life. So I want you to be aware of which flexes have consequences, right? There are certain aspects of this program that were designed to help you succeed with maintenance. That's what we're talking about, right? Then we are going to highlight one beloved's person, their story of maintenance success. So I'll just be interviewing them a little bit, asking them their questions, because they have been maintaining their bright transformation for years and years and years. So it's going to be so sweet to talk with them. Then I'm going to tell you all about this course that so many here are so excited about, the psychology of maintenance. I'll tell you about some of the topics we're going to be covering. I'll explain how to register. I'm already getting highlighted, bolded notes from my team saying that folks are trying to register already. Okay, great. There is a button down below the video to register. So if you're having difficulty registering and you're trying, you likely just need to refresh your page. Because registration just opened as the workshop started. So if you logged in before the workshop officially started, registration wasn't available yet. No worries, just refresh your page, just refresh. Then if you're still having issues, contact support, they're standing by. You do that always by going to the website support.brightlineeating.com. support.brightlineeating.com. That's always how you get support in Brightline Eating. Let me wet my whistle for a second. Some anonymous Bright Lifer sent me this mug. It says, "Easy does it, darling." And on the bottom, it says, "You are someone's gratitude right now." It is the sweetest thing. They didn't tell me who they were. It was the sweetest thing. They just could tell a little while ago that I was just overloaded and struggling, and they just sent me this mug. It was so sweet. So I'm drinking throat coat tea. Okay, boom. And then we will do Q&A and spend some more time together until we're just done and dusted. Okay, all right. So let's do a little bit more of the introduction, because I tell you, we have got a whopper of a problem here. We really do. We really do, right? Another reminder to take the poll if you haven't already. We really want total participation, unanimity, right? So right underneath the video, there's going to be, this isn't this video, obviously, this is, I'm wearing a different shirt, but underneath orange button, take the poll, right? Take the poll. Okay, right there. Okay. All right. So maintenance. I have been in a bright body for a long time. But this was me, gosh, at the age of 26 or 7. Oh, I had just run a marathon. I had just run a marathon. So I had lost weight right before this picture. The marathon only helped me lose 10 pounds. God bless. Literally 6 months of running 40 miles a week. I lost 10 pounds. And the reason that I took this picture, the reason this picture exists at all, who poses for a picture like this? Not me. The reason I did was that I was starting a bikini body challenge with $100,000 prize. And at the end, you had to submit good before and after bikini pictures. And I thought I was going to win because I was so motivated and committed. So I had a friend of mine who was a photographer and he had a studio. So I had him take a proper before picture. This remains the best fat picture I have. I got fatter than that. I don't know how much. This is me at about a size 16. I got up to a size 24 at one point. And that was all in my 20s, I found no sugar, no flour, weighing and measuring my food. I found those structures back in 2003. And I lost all my weight really quickly. I was 28 years old. And I didn't hold on to it. What happened was, I don't know if you can relate to this. I was doing everything right, but with so much fear and rigidity that my world got smaller and smaller and smaller, and I was gripping tighter and tighter and tighter until finally I just binged. And then I could not get it back. And for 3 months, I just ate and tried to stop eating, ate and tried to stop eating, ate and tried to stop eating. And that's when I went from a size 4 to a size 24 in 3 months. That was in late 2003. And then finally, the addiction kind of wave, the tsunami kind of passed, and I was able to stop again. And I have been in my bright body since then. I have been at maintenance now, doing the maintenance dance, living my bright transformation now for 18 years. 18 years. Yeah, right now, 18 years this spring. This spring, it's 18 years. So yeah, that's a long time, right? You know, I'm 47, and, you know, all through my 30s and all through my 40s so far. Now, that doesn't mean that I've been bright every day. It does mean that I've developed amazing habits for getting on track, back on track, resuming, and resuming with my habits and my tools when life gets lifey, right? Just recognizing and getting back on the upswing. The vlog that came out yesterday was about that. Having COVID kind of set me back. And while I didn't, you know, binge on sugar and flour and flagrantly break my lines like that, my food got wonky because I didn't have a refrigerator and I was sick as a dog with COVID. And so I was on a downslope, and I resumed and have just been back shiny bright, no food chatter in my head now for, you know, I don't know, a couple weeks, a week or two, coming up on a couple weeks, feel great. And that's, you know, it ebbs and flows as life ebbs and flows, but I know how to keep riding the horse. I know how to keep riding the horse. And I also have learned where how loose is too loose, how far is too far, and also how not to grip it all so tightly that the only option is just to keep dripping or to just shatter, right? Yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's basically my story with maintenance. It's been a long time, and I'm so grateful, you know, I'm so grateful. Okay, so let me go ahead and share my screen again. Let's get back to the PowerPoint. I could just talk and talk and talk forever, but I want to make sure that I'm moving through the slides. Okay, so today's topic is about the aspects of the program that we work, right? Because bright line eating, for those who do it, who really do it, the way it's intended to be done, really come to understand that this is not a diet, right? That this is not a diet. There are diets out there, and there are approaches to eating, approaches to weight loss, approaches to living healthy that involve certain features, whether it's, you know, foods, specialty foods that are sold in the grocery store, right? Not in the produce aisle, but in packages with branded labels on them that are designed to help you lose weight for this reason or that reason. There's behaviors like how you're going to interact with the scale, how often you're going to weigh yourself. There's group support, whether facilitated by an expert or a fellow traveler on the path who's, you know, done that approach, like a Weight Watchers meeting or something, who now is, you know, promoted to a Weight Watchers leader or something like that. There's hospital groups. If you go for bariatric surgery, often you'll be joining a group of other people and meeting maybe once a month. There's all kinds of approaches to the food. One of them is to count calories. Another one is to structure your macronutrients in a certain way, whether it's keto and you're going for high fat, or it's, you know, an Atkins style where you're going for high fat, high protein, you know, et cetera, right? There's different ways to manage that. You can get medical professionals involved. You can take medications. You can get surgery. You know, and then there's subtle things like how you prepare your food, what time of day you eat, how many meals a day you eat, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? So we're talking about the features of a program. Exercise. Oh my gosh, how much you exercise, whether you exercise, when you exercise, what type of exercise, high intensity interval training, weight training, cardiovascular training, a mix, doesn't matter, just get out and walk. I mean, all sorts of approaches to that, right? So that's our topic today. And right after we cover our poll results, we will cover the 5 key factors. So I'm assuming you've taken the poll already, and let me go ahead and show the results. I'm excited. Okay, so the Art of Maintenance live stream poll for April 21st, 2022. Okay, let me show my screen. I love these polls. They're so exciting. I love to learn about you. I love to learn about you. Okay, here we go. Here we go. All right, so we got over 700 people here have taken the poll. We've got Africa in the house. We have no one from Antarctica. One day we will get someone from Antarctica. We did, and no one in Asia. We will get Antarctica at some point. We had Antarctica once in 2015 because someone on the Bright Line Eating team had a friend who was stationed there and sent him the videos and watched them. And all right, we got 80% of the people here in the United States. We've got about 12 or 13% of the people in North America, not in the United States. That's going to be Canada, Mexico, Central America. We've got a little representation in South America. We've got maybe 6 or 7% of our people in Europe. Okay. All right. When did you first hear the words Bright Line Eating put together in that order? All right. So around 5% are brand new. That's amazing. And then we've got about 7% who are long timers, 7 to 8 years ago-ish. Never make yourself do math in front of people, 6 to 7 years ago. And then we've got a whole bunch of people, most kind of like, of the remainder, 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, are sort of, new-ish, been here a while, been here kind of a long while, like from around the time of the first book and before. Okay, fabulous. So what this means to me is that most people here have given Bright Line Eating a solid try at one point. Most people here have definitely done that. Okay. Oh, actually, most people here are really doing Bright Line Eating right now. 80% of people are really doing Bright Line Eating right now. About 14% of people are kind of doing Bright Line Eating, and we've got very few people. We've got 4%, I think, who used to and are considering getting back on track, and we've got 3% of people who do not do Bright Line Eating yet, or maybe don't ever plan to. Great. All right, and we've got 75% of people are already All Access members, and we've got 8 or 9% of people are core members, and we've got about 17% of people who are not Bright Line Eating members currently. Excellent. Look at all you All Access members. All Access in the house. Are you excited about the maintenance courses coming up? Let me just see, 85% of people. So this is really interesting. 75% of people are All Access members, but 85% of people are really excited about the maintenance courses coming up. Okay, so we've got people in these groups who are excited about the maintenance group. These groups meaning the core members or people who aren't members right now. And we've got a fair number of people, almost nobody is not excited about it, but a fair number of people, 14% of people aren't sure. So this workshop is going to be great for you to clarify what the maintenance course that's rolling out now is about, how you could benefit from it, what's going to be included in it, the topics we're going to cover, and how it fits into your Bright Line Eating journey, right? Depending on what stage you're at in your journey. I know a lot of people assume that a maintenance course is for people who are in maintenance right now, but this first course is designed especially for people who are approaching maintenance at some point in the future. It could be a long way in the future, and that's actually the target audience, but people who are at maintenance now are going to get a lot out of it too. Have you had your Bright transformation? Look at this. We have got hundreds and hundreds, about 350 people here who have had more than that, 370 people probably, who have had their bright transformation already. Amazing. And we've got about 45% of people, so about 300 people who have not had their bright transformation yet. But just about everybody wants to have a bright transformation. And maybe these folks don't know what a bright transformation is because, well, maybe you're saying no because you don't need one, right? There are people who don't really need a bright transformation. But for anyone who does, it is an amazing thing to have. A bright transformation is when you're happy in your body because you feel like it's right-sized for you, and it's a bright body, it's a goal body, it can do the things that you want to do in the world. And mentally, emotionally, spiritually, you're feeling in alignment with your food and your weight, and you are ready to show up for life. You're feeling called by your purpose in life. And yeah, it's an amazing thing to have a bright transformation. Okay, so this is really interesting. We have a lot of people who have had their bright transformation, 55%, but a much smaller number, 30-something%, say they're at maintenance. I love this. Do you know why? It means that there are people who are on the path to losing their weight who are claiming their bright transformation. And I love that. I think that's fair. I think that's fair because really the gift is this bright day. And if you're really bright and you're in the groove and you've been doing this for a while and, you know, the weight has come off to the point where, you know, really it's just a matter of time, right? Go ahead and claim that bright transformation. I love that. Even if you've got, you know, whatever. So some folks have 11 to 50 pounds to lose yet till they're officially at maintenance, but they've lost the weight that they need to lose to worry about it. And they're not worrying about it anymore. They're claiming their bright transformation. Beautiful. And we've got some folks still who have over 100 pounds to lose or 50 to 100 pounds. Love it. You are all welcome here. All welcome. Do you need help with the psychology of maintenance? So this is very interesting. Look at how many people who are at maintenance right now, which just to remind you, I'm just going to go back to that slide. Okay, 30% of people are at maintenance, 32%, but 55% have had their bright transformation. Okay, I'm going to try to remember that now. And isn't it interesting? Even if you feel like you've had your bright transformation and you're at maintenance, the odds are very high that you feel like you could use help with the psychology of maintenance. And the reason is that maintenance can feel like a slippery fish sometimes, you know. And like, for example, if you watch this week's vlog, I tell the story of how I had COVID really bad and simultaneously my fridge stopped working. It hadn't been working actually for a long time. And we ordered a new one and it just hasn't arrived because of supply chain issues, right? So who knows when it's going to arrive. So I went through this rigmarole around my food. It was not good for my brain to be ordering takeout every night for a month, right? To feed my family. And I just didn't have it in me. Neither David nor I had it in us to cook. And so we were ordering, you know, from restaurants every day for a month, and it was not good for my brain. Now, this kind, you know, when life gets lifey, it can really make you feel like you need support with the mental game, even at maintenance. So I can't wait to cover some of this stuff with you today. Are you planning to register for the All Access membership this week so you can take our new course, Maintenance 1, The Psychology of Maintenance? All right, we got 72% of people are already All Access members. We've got about 6% of people who already know that they plan to register. We got 4% of people here are saying no, and we've got a good 17 or 18% who are not sure yet. It's going to be very helpful for you to hear more about what's in this course to help you make that decision. And for anyone who's not sure yet, let me also say, I'm not a convincer. Like, you know, in other words, if I think this is not the right time or not a good course for somebody, I will tell them that. And if you've watched me on enough of these things, you know that to be true. I have no problem saying, no, I don't think this is probably not the right time for you. So feel free to ask questions in the Q&A period about your circumstance or about the course to help you make a decision, because let's be real, right? The fence is not a comfortable place to sit. It's just not comfortable. So I'm happy to help. I'm happy to help you get off the fence on one side or the other so that you're clear. Okay, there is the poll. Woo, woo. Okay. So I'm going to stop that sharing and I'm going to go back to, whoop. Okay. All right, so we did our poll results and now we're going to go over the 5 key factors of a program that will allow you to have a lifetime of blissful, not always blissful, but successful and pretty darn great maintenance. Okay, so factor number one is you have to work a program in such a way that your brain will heal, not stay all inflamed and seeking sexy foods and chattering at you all the time, right? The reality is that you can only white knuckle it for so long, right? You can only white knuckle it for so long. So the core issue is that modern foods and modern eating patterns have hijacked the brain. And now the brain is blocking weight loss actively. But this doesn't show up immediately when we start a new program, because our human resolve and excitement will overpower the brain for a while. It's kind of like, yes, you need oxygen, but you can hold your breath for a while, right? But with eating, as compared with breathing, the time course is usually weeks and months, not seconds. Okay, it's very clear that when you hold your breath, which you can do with excitement for a little while, your brain will convince you to breathe at some point. Because it takes weeks usually, it's less clear to us how the brain convinces us to eat, but it does. So the first problem when it comes to healing our brain is cravings. Right? We've got to eat in such a way that we reduce or eliminate cravings. Cravings are generated by the dopamine rewards pathway that has everything to do with motivation, getting more. This is the pathway. It includes the ventral tegmental area and then projections that come up to the nucleus accumbens. And then the prefrontal cortex is trying to keep all this in check. This is the part that's trying to help us decide and evaluate options and so forth. And the neurotransmitter that's in play here is dopamine, the molecule of more. And what happens over time as we're exposed to these modern foods that are in our environment now that never existed thousands of years ago, but that do now, is natural baseline levels of dopamine in this reward pathway go down and down and down. It's called dopamine downregulation, meaning the dopamine receptors are getting less numerous, less responsive. Here's a normal, healthy, vibrant dopamine response at baseline in a healthy person's brain. In the middle is someone who's addicted, currently addicted to cocaine. And you can see the significantly blunted dopamine response there. But look, it's just as bad, even worse, in the person who's currently suffering from obesity. So we need to heal our brain by not flooding it with so much dopamine. I'll get into how in a second. Problem number 2 is insatiable hunger, which is this new weird kind of hunger, right? It's not solved or treated by eating. Regular hunger is treated by eating. You just eat a bit and then the hunger goes away. And as a matter of fact, satiety or satiation kicks in quite quickly. And suddenly you don't want to eat anymore. Well, a lot of us have experienced not feeling normal in that way, where other people are saying, oh, I'm good. And we're just kind of like, what? I still want more, like a lot more, right? What do you mean you're good? You're satisfied. You don't want any more. Well, that's insatiable hunger, where after a full dinner, you feel like you're going to go chill and read or watch TV or fits on your phone or your computer, but you want to bring a snack with you. And it's like you just ate dinner, right? It's insatiable hunger. It doesn't go away from eating. And it's caused by something called leptin resistance. Leptin, of course, is that hormone that tells our brain, especially the brainstem and the hypothalamus, it tells our brain, you've had enough to eat. You're not hungry anymore. As a matter of fact, you feel like going to get active because you've got some good fuel on board. So why not now go take some actions to ensure your survival, right? Go build a hut, go do something useful, go find a mate. So when our brain can't see the leptin, big problems come up. This insatiable hunger and eating more than our bodies need. The causes of leptin resistance, I used to say the cause of leptin resistance was insulin, right? High baseline insulin levels. It turns out that it's high insulin, high inflammation, and high triglycerides. All three independently cause leptin resistance in those parts of the brain, the hypothalamus and the brainstem. Now, the hypothalamus and the brainstem, they regulate very primitive things. Things like the temperature of our body within a very narrow range. Things like making sure we're still breathing and creating urine, even if we're not trying to or thinking about it, right? So if you think about the systems that you would have to override to convince the brain that you didn't need that food, good luck with that, right? It's sort of like, yeah, why don't you also hold your breath while running up 100 flights of stairs? I'll see you on the other side of that experiment, right? So if you don't fix that leptin resistance, you're sunk, right? And again, this issue kicks in over the time span of weeks, not seconds. So holding your breath while running up 100 flights of stairs will illustrate to you really quickly that you can't overpower your brain when it comes to oxygen deprivation. But it takes a little longer to run the experiment with food deprivation, but you will lose that experiment just as soundly. The brain will trick you to eat. The third problem that exists that you've got to solve is the willpower gap. Now, this isn't a problem that you can heal. It's a problem that you can solve, though. These first two you can heal. You can heal leptin resistance and you can heal dopamine downregulation. You can't heal the willpower gap, but you can solve it. And I'll be covering all that in a second. So I know for many of you, this is all review, but there's nothing wrong with reviewing the basics, right? This is the foundation of why we do what we do in Bright Line Eating and why it is what works. And we will be going over how we circumvent this and unfortunately keep doing things that are keeping us stuck. Okay, so the willpower gap is created by this issue where there's this little part of the brain right behind our forehead called the anterior cingulate cortex. And the anterior cingulate cortex just has a bum role in life because it's got this job of helping us make decisions, helping us manage our emotions, helping us execute tasks properly, like helping us rein in temptations, right? So this is the issue of willpower. It's the seat of willpower in the brain. And this poor part of the brain, the anterior cingulate cortex, gets fatigued after only 15 minutes of use. It's like a phone that's got 15 minutes of charge. Can you imagine? Just think for a second right now. If your phone had 15 minutes of charge, that's about what the anterior cingulate cortex is like, 15 minutes of charge, which means that if you go check your email for 15 minutes, okay, now it's exhausted. If you sit in traffic with really aggressive, maddening drivers for 15 minutes, now your anterior cingulate cortex is offline. It's tired. If you try to deal with kids and the siblings are having a fight, yep, that'll blast your anterior cingulate cortex. You're at work and there's frustrating stuff going on there or whatever. It's like all this stuff. Now, willpower is fueled by brain glucose. This part of the brain, the anterior cingulate cortex, is especially sensitive to brain glucose fluctuations, which is another problem because until your blood sugar levels are used to a steady state, you know, in the past, you used to send your blood sugar sky high by eating a muffin and a latte, and then it would crash 2 hours later, and then you get a bag of chips from the vending machine and it would go sky high, and then it would crash 2 hours later. All of that is taxing the anterior cingulate cortex unusually strongly because that part of the brain is especially sensitive to fluctuations there. So when our blood sugar is dropped, we're even less likely to make the best decision when it comes to food. So the willpower gap is quite wide, actually. We fall into it all the time. And all three of these problems, problem number one, dopamine downregulation, problem number two, leptin resistance, and problem number three, the willpower gap or a gimpy anterior, you know, tapped out anterior cingulate cortex, all three of these issues create a situation where we believe we've decided to get a little something, to eat a little something, to grab a handful of nuts, to swing through a drive-through, to whatever the version of it is. And that's because consciousness in the brain is not in a spot, a particular spot. It's distributed throughout the brain such that each part of the brain that's responsible for whatever it's responsible for generates its own consciousness around that. Which means that when the anterior cingulate cortex is exhausted and it's not showing up to help rein things in, your reward pathways or your brainstem or your hypothalamus are likely to spin a story that you need to get something to eat. And that it's okay for this reason. Then the psychology comes in, the negotiator part of us comes in and spins a story, or you know, we really need it, we deserve it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's how the brain works. Those quote unquote decisions are not decisions. No more than when you finally breathe, if you were trying to run upstairs holding your breath. When you finally breathe, it's not because you decided to breathe. It's because your brain tricked you into breathing and generated a narrative in your own voice inside your own head that made you think you decided to breathe. You had no say in the matter, not in any way that counts. And I hate to say this, but neuroscientists are coming to think more and more that a lot of what we think of as free will might be an illusion. When you decide to go out with friends on a Friday night and relax your bright lines, that very well may not have been you deciding that. That is your brain being hijacked. So the weird decision to indulge is what we need to cure. It's what we need to heal. And it's very biological. It seems like a thought in our mind, but it's very biological. So we need to heal our brain. But how? Well, when we start bright line eating, we say no to processed BS low calorie foods, right? That the diet industry or just the food industry has made, right? Those 100 calorie packs of chips and so forth. We don't eat those anymore. We eat real simple food, whole real food. And this is what heals our brain. You don't get a huge spike of dopamine from this food. And so over time, your dopamine receptors replenish. How long does it take? We don't have neuroscientific evidence of that with brain scans. I believe we will at some point. But what we do have is clinical data from the Bright Line Eating Bootcamp showing that from the first week of doing Bright Line Eating, cravings, which are the manifestation of dopamine downregulation. That's what dopamine downregulation does. It generates cravings. Cravings start going down from week 1. And by the end of the Bright Line Eating Bootcamp, they are down on average to little or no more cravings ever. So we know that within 8 weeks, not in everyone, but in most people, the vast majority of people on average, those dopamine receptors heal. So that's how dopamine receptor regeneration happens. Now, these foods also will lower baseline insulin levels, triglycerides, and inflammation fast. And anyone who's had their blood work checked in bright line eating knows that to be true. And we have clinical data from the Bright Line Eating Bootcamp showing that within the first 8 weeks, the Bright Line Eating Bootcamp, hunger levels have gone down and down and down and down steadily as well, on average. Insatiable hunger in most people, gone. That is because we have healed the brain. So leptin comes back on board, it can be seen. And a lot of us still have the behavioral addiction to food. And so the digital food scale remains a necessary, helpful, life-saving, frankly, tool for the long term. But for a lot of us, we experience not feeling that gaping, panicky, desperate feeling at the end of a meal that we've taken our last bite and, oh my gosh, we have to wait hours and hours and hours to eat again. That mostly goes away for most of us because leptin has come back on board. And it's automaticity that solves the willpower problem, right? The willpower gap is caused by this sort of thinking that we can eat whatever, whenever, right? Former programs like that we've probably all tried, almost all of them have meals and snacks, which sort of licenses you to eat all day long, right? Anything could be, well, that's a meal, that's a snack, that's a snack, that's a meal, that's a snack. It's like all day long, right? You're eating and licensing eating, which sets you up for the willpower gap terribly, because then it's choice after choice after choice after choice. And that anterior cingulate cortex is not on board to help you make good choices for a lot of the day, right? So lots of meals and snacks, many small meals a day, all of those are features of programs that don't support you in your recovery. Not understanding the value of really clear and repeated meal structure. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, breakfast, lunch, dinner, breakfast, lunch, dinner. Day after day after day, breakfast and lunch get wired into your routine, like brushing your teeth in the morning and brushing your teeth at night. And lunch, you know, we just have this pause in society at midday. It's a great thing. We still have it. And for those of us who eat lunch then, boom, lunch automatically goes right into that slot, right? So automaticity solves the willpower gap. Now, a lot of us experience this slipping if we stop writing down our food, if we start eating out a bunch. We can keep meal structure, but we can notice our quantities starting to get wonky if we haven't kept clean boundaries, right, around the meals and quantities lines, which are the ones that solve the willpower gap problem, right? Once we start breaking the meals and quantities line, now we're back to grappling with willpower, and that becomes problematic for us again, right? Okay, let's get back to the screen sharing. Okay, the key factor number 2 is we've got to reduce hunger. Now, I'm not talking about insatiable hunger here. I'm talking about regular hunger. Okay, regular hunger. And the way you reduce regular hunger is by making sure that you're eating ample protein. Now, I haven't talked about this a lot in any workshop. So for a lot of you, this is going to be new stuff that you hear from me. And research was done on animals in the wild and domesticated animals, looking at exactly what they eat and what their appetites are. So what's an appetite? An appetite is a drive to eat, a drive to eat. And it turns out that we have 5 and only 5 distinct appetites, okay? We have separate appetites for protein, carbohydrate, fat. In other words, all three macronutrients have a separate appetite. We also have an appetite for salt. It's the only nutrient that you can taste. Super important. People who say don't eat salt are just so missing the boat scientifically. The sugar, oil, salt free. I'm happy with sugar free. If you want to get your fat from avocados and olives and not eat oil, I'm fine with that. Salt free? Oh, heck no. The brain and the body were designed to make sure that you eat enough salt. And if you eliminate salt and eat a really clean whole foods diet, you are going to be more sick than if you ate too much of the wrong things. You have to eat enough salt. And there is a separate appetite to guarantee that you will. Most people salt their food appropriately to get right in the sweet spot. If they just allow themselves to salt their food, if they're not eating potato chips, right? If they're not eating a processed foods diet, if they're eating a whole foods diet, salt your food amply to the point of your taste buds, and you will be right in the sweet spot of that appetite. And the last appetite, the fifth one, is calcium. We have a separate calcium appetite. Okay. Now, interestingly, these are the only 5 appetites, which means that those woo-woo folks, don't poo-poo the woo-woo. I'm a big fan of a lot of woo-woo stuff, but the folks who are telling you that you have food cravings because you're missing nutrients, they're talking about an appetite. That's what an appetite is. A drive to eat a specific food, right? That is an appetite. You do not have a magnesium appetite. You're not binging on chocolate because you're deficient in magnesium. You have no other appetites for any other things. Your body is not sensing deficiencies and driving you to eat for any other reason except protein, carbohydrate, fat, salt, or calcium. Those are the 5, okay? So turns out of these 5 appetites, one is trump. It is the linchpin. It is the trump card, okay? And that is, can you guess from where we are in the PowerPoint and what the last slide said? You guessed it, it's protein. It's protein. In other words, the drive to get enough protein overshadows all your other food drives. You have to get enough protein. Your brain will not let you not get enough protein. Now, if you're eating an overall diet, that's, say, I don't know, you're getting 12% of your calories from protein, which is totally possible to do in bright line eating. But your body really needs 17% of its calories from protein to maintain your body weight. What's going to happen is you're going to be ravenous. You're going to be ravenous to force you to eat more food so that you get enough protein to make up that deficiency. Now, here's the hard part. We know how much protein domesticated cats need. It's like 35%. We know how much protein domesticated dogs need. It's way less than that because dogs have been domesticated for longer and they've lost a lot of their protein needs. Cats are still pretty wild and eating mice and stuff. And genetically speaking, they still need a lot more protein. We don't usually, most of us don't need anywhere near that much, but there's a huge range in human beings. Inuit, people with a lot of Inuit genes, they might need a lot more protein. And there's a huge range. So I can't tell you how much protein you need. What I can tell you is you'll need to get enough or you'll be very hungry. I can tell you that you don't get much protein from nuts. You don't get much protein from soy milk or almond milk, right? There are certain protein choices on the protein table that they're not going to give you much protein, right? You get enough protein from beans, probably if you're combining it with spinach. You get a lot of protein from green vegetables, right? If you're eating corn, you're not going to get much protein from that. But if you're eating spinach and broccoli for your veggies, you're going to get a lot more protein from that. So you can be plant-based if you're eating soy and a lot of green veggies and get enough protein. This is why a little while ago, when I started trying out protein powders with no additives added to them, just whole food protein powders, I realized it provided a huge satiating effect. Now, you don't have to do that. What I can tell you is, if you're stable in your food plan and you're not hungry, like, I mean like starvation brain, like, is it time to eat yet? Is it time to eat yet? Is it time to eat yet? How about now? How about now? How about now? This is when you're not craving cake, you're craving more of your bright food. That means you need more protein. And you get it by eating more protein dense foods, or taking an ounce of protein powder and using that as half a protein for whatever meal, right? Either way, you're going to need to get enough protein. Your brain will not let you not get enough protein. It is the Mac Daddy of all of the appetites. Okay. The other thing that reduces hunger is whole real foods in bulk. There is a volume play here where the stretch receptors in the stomach seem very calmed by eating an ample meal, which is why the vegetables that we eat in Bright Line Eating help the brain to decide that we've had enough, even though we're on a weight loss plan initially and we're going to lose weight, right? So plans out there that are counting calories, but allowing you to eat, fake foods that are like, I just always use this example because it's just such a good example, the 1-point brownie, right? Or maybe it's a 2 or 3 point brownie or whatever, right? It might be low cal, but it's very sweet. It's very high in food reward, right? Chocolate is in the top 3 most addictive foods that there are in existence, right? It's going to trigger all of that food reward in the brain. Dopamine spike. It's going to keep your it's a processed food. It's going to keep your triglycerides and your inflammation and your insulin all high. You're probably eating it at some weird old time. So it's going to mess with your willpower, because you're messing with your automaticity, right? But then the other issue is it's like this big, right? It's a little nugget of a thing. And instead of eating that, think about how much, spring mix lettuce you could eat, a whole big bowl full of it, right? And that volume matters to your stomach. It matters to your brain. That is one of the things that helps lower hunger. So plans that focus on calories and macronutrients miss the mark here. They miss the mark. Factor number 3 is a focus on rest and self-care, right? Rest and self-care. Because the food comes first. The food comes first. We have got to focus on establishing our food program and getting it right for a time above all else, marshaling our willpower and preserving our willpower. I know that there's a willpower gap, but you still have some volition and willpower in your life. That's why those other plans that aren't set up to produce long-term success for you, they often are successful for a week or a month or 2 months or 3 months, right? That is due to the power of your volition as a human being, spiritually, mentally, emotionally. You can rally yourself and do stuff and succeed at stuff. And over the time course of months, if you're doing something that won't work for your brain will unravel it down the line. But you can absolutely start off running up flights of stairs, holding your breath. You can, and you can get a little ways, right? And that's like the beginning of a plan. And while you've got that juice in your tank, when you're taking your first few steps up those flights of stairs, holding your breath, right then you've got to use your mojo to get your food right. And that means you've got to ease up on work. You've got to don't even think about exercising. Okay, you get a free pass if you're doing it so that you don't get, wickedly depressed or anxious. You get a free pass if you have a routine that you've been doing the same way for years, but give yourself a pass if you're tired one day and you just don't feel up to it. The food comes first. Don't even worry about that. Let yourself sit on the couch and learn how to do that without eating. You've got to create rest and time and space. Yes, I know that life sometimes won't let us. And that's a rub, right? It's going to be harder. I won't lie. I won't lie. Oftentimes we can take time where we think we can't. I have a life that many people would say, oh, that's too busy a life, right? And I remember when I was having a breakdown back in 2019, the summer of 2019, and my dad said, come stay with me for a bit. I'm worried about you, sweetie. You don't sound good. Come stay with me for a bit. And I looked at my calendar and I said, I can't, Dad, I can't. I got stuff with work, stuff with my kids. We talked for an hour. And by the end of that conversation, I really felt in more to how I was breaking down. Like I really, really needed some time. And I looked back at my calendar and I said, okay, let me be real. I don't actually have to like nobody dies if I don't do that stuff. Someone else, David can take the kids. I can miss that thing, that performance. I can push off this launch. I can do, okay, right? Are there things you're doing for people that they could do for themselves? Are there committees that you're on that you could resign? Are you thinking that you have to keep the world running, that you have to be the one to do all that stuff? Is it all on your shoulders because someone else is really putting it on your shoulders? And even if they are, can you say, no, thank you. I can't do that right now. I got to take care of myself for a bit. I got to focus on this other thing. So plans that miss the mark on this, they often send you in the other direction. I've done this a lot where in the long past, right? Where I've started a plan and it brought such a rush of energy. The euphoria of succeeding for a bit with the weight loss game is so heady that it can trick us into taking on more. I'm hitting the gym and I'm this and I'm that. And that's where, 2 months later, we're hitting the gym 5 times in a row and then we're swinging through a drive-through because we just worked out 5 times and we deserve it, right? So many plans missed the mark on this. Weight loss initially is exhausting and you've got to prioritize getting your food automatic, which takes months. If you've done bright line eating in the past and really done it solid with a strong boot camp and had solid bright lines, then it won't take months because you already have those fiber tracks laid in your brain. It will take a shorter amount of time to get solid again because you did it once already. You've got a lot going for you then. You get it back much faster, much faster. You've built it already. Re-getting it is way easier than getting it the first time. But getting it the first time is easier in some ways because the first time is often a gift. I think because you're so nervous, scared, interested, distracted, focused, trying to get it all right and learn it, that you kind of have something to keep your focus while magically your brain is changing and you don't even realize it. But if you've done bright line eating before, you're often sort of really more hyper aware of like, okay, it's been a few days, I still have these cravings. The beginning, you assume you'll still have cravings. So anyway, yeah, the food comes first. You've got to rest. You've got to carve out time and space to do it really. It's a big thing succeeding with this in this food environment. It's a nightmare out there. It's a nightmare. And food is the hardest addiction in the world to kick. Take it from a former crack cocaine and crystal methamphetamine addict. This is the hardest, which means you got to put yourself in rehab. You got to consider this to be, your 28-day rehab period. So no, you can't, not serving on that committee. I'm going to, no, all that stuff. So The food comes first. And if we don't take it that seriously and carve out the time and space, what often happens, or we're working a program that doesn't even suggest this to us, right? Like it just assumes that you can just blaze ahead at 110 miles an hour with the rest of your life. What happens is we find ourselves needing to work late at work. And so now we're eating, who knows what from the drive-through or the vending machine, or, stuff is going on and, suddenly it's been 7 hours since our last meal. And, you get it, right? You get it. And then, our anterior cingulate cortex is tapped. We fall into the willpower gap and, we're ordering out. Okay. The fourth factor is effective community. Effective community. I know lots of apps out there have a coach they assign you. That's not effective community. I know there's meetings that you could go to for this or that. What's effective community? I'm going to pause this here. What makes for effective community is when you're one among many, right? You're one among many, not you and a professional. You seeing a therapist about your eating is not effective support. You seeing, it might be a structure that helps you feel accountable, but it's not effective community, right? So you being one among many is one of the features there. And the fostering of deeper bonds, really deeper bonds. I was reading an article in the New York Times this morning or yesterday morning that said, before COVID hit, experts were saying there was an epidemic of loneliness, having health consequences and all kinds of terrible consequences. And then COVID hit. And the metrics that they were looking at, calling an epidemic of loneliness, doubled, tripled, quadrupled, like to truly horrifying proportions. And I knew all this stuff. I knew. There was an area in that article that I didn't know, that blew my mind. And what it said was, as loneliness ratchets up, what happens is a fear response kicks in the brain. The amygdala gets more triggered, causing us to feel more afraid of connecting, causing us to recoil and not answer the phone, causing us to avoid going to a gathering where we might see people, causing us to avoid a deeper conversation with a friend or a loved one, because we come to just prefer our own company. When real loneliness kicks in, that's what happens. And I didn't know that. But just double check, right? How supported and connected are you feeling on your bright journey, on your life journey right now? And I will be the first to admit that I feel more lonely and isolated right now in my life than I ever have. I've never felt particularly lonely. I feel somewhat lonely right now and isolated. It's a first for me. I'm not usually someone who feels that way. I feel pretty lonely and pretty isolated and disconnected. And I notice in myself, even at what I would consider a middling, medium, kind of mild-ish level of loneliness and isolation, I notice myself not choosing, for whatever reason, I hadn't really thought of it, to engage in the connection-seeking behaviors that used to be part of my daily rituals, my daily routines, my daily way. I'm preferring to go for a walk by myself as opposed to, make phone calls. I'm preferring, I'm just not reaching out as much. I'm just not engaging as much. It's an interesting thing, right? Effective community over time breaks through those barriers so that you really do bond. You really do bond. And go back to the slide here. what comes from that is a feeling of belonging to a community. This is an identity thing where you really feel like a bright lifer, you really feel like one among many. And then you've got access to a whole community of, which is a source of information and inspiration. So when you're approaching maintenance, you can reach out through your network and normalize all the things you're going through. Whether it's, I'm afraid to add food because I think I'll gain weight, right? That's a very common one. Or I'm afraid to lose all my weight because I'm afraid I'll be too wrinkly or have too much sagging skin. So a part of me wants to keep an extra, umpty number of pounds on me. And when you reach out to your community and you hear other people who felt that way, and they say, yeah, I totally felt that way. I know exactly what you mean. As a matter of fact, I hovered 50 pounds above my goal weight for a long time because I didn't want all the sagging skin and wrinkles. But I've lost my weight now, all of it. And yeah, I look a little wrinkly in the face. And in terms of the sagging skin, I'm wearing clothes, really. Thank God for clothes. And I feel great in my clothes. And I feel amazing in my bright body. I'm not worried about the wrinkles. Like, it just turned out to be kind of an imaginary issue. It's not really an issue, right? So the community becomes a source to tap into with the specific things that you're going through around your maintenance transition. And very critically, an effective community provides a powerful equal and opposite force when your outside social world makes you want to eat the old way to belong, right? The thing is, if you do eat that old way, let's say at a party, now you feel like you belong at the party, but you don't belong anymore in your Brightline eating community. And if you have enough Brightline friends, and even someone you're already planning to call on the way home from the party, you won't take that bite of food because you belong to your Brightline eating community. That doesn't mean you don't feel like you belong to your family or to your work colleague, cohort, or whatever, but the Brightline eating community is a strong source of identity-based belonging that you don't want to give up. And that provides enough pushback against the very natural societal, social feeling of, I can't eat this way because it makes me too weird. It makes me too different. It makes me stand out from the herd, from the pack, from the tribe, from the group. And we have very, very strong pressures to never deviate from what the community deems acceptable. And let's be clear, still, the way we eat in Brightline eating is not deemed acceptable in a lot of circles, right? So we need to belong very strongly to the Brightline eating community to counterbalance that. And I just have to say, God bless everyone who thinks the way everyone else is eating is a really good idea, right? Just let's look at the data on that, right? So yeah, it is no marker of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick food environment, right? Okay. All right. So let's just take a look at the people in our community who are there for us, as role models of maintenance in action. People who've been maintaining their bright transformation, right? Maintaining their bright transformation, in some cases for years and years and years. They become role models for us and available to us to reach out to. So the fifth factor is guidance on maintenance. I don't know of any other program that explicitly offers that. But what are they expecting? That you're just that maintenance isn't a thing, that the only thing is to lose weight? I'm telling you, there's a lot to maintenance. It is the thing. Weight loss is kind of trivial in comparison. The maintenance journey has a very rich psychological component, and I'll tell you the aspects of the maintenance course that we're offering now. And the food and landing the plane. How do you make sure that you don't get too thin? And how do you what's the difference between your weight loss plan and your maintenance plan? I mean, Some other programs are so the issue of landing the plane, right? There's programs where while you're losing weight, you drink shakes and supplement with just a little bit of vegetable or something like that, but you're drinking shakes. And then when you've lost your weight, you just go back out into the world and eat food. That's the maintenance transition. Land the plane now, great. No more shakes, go out into the world, and have shakes once or twice a day if you want to. That's the maintenance transition, right? Or a maintenance transition of now you get more points, which means you can have more cake, right? Because I don't know if you checked, sorry, but the Weight Watchers food plan now, almost nothing that we eat in Bright Line Eating even counts as points anymore. That didn't used to be the case when I was trying Weight Watchers 20 some odd years ago. Everything had points, right? Now, except maybe some vegetables, right? Now, like lean proteins, fruits, whole grains, like I forget exactly, but you know, God bless, but I don't think they have any points at all. Like I think you could eat almost your whole Bright Line day's worth of food and not have used any points, which means all the other points can just go to cake or something. Like I'm sorry, I shouldn't bad talk other programs, but it's just I was just sharing a little inside joke as someone who's done Weight Watchers many times in my past, many times, including once with my husband. Oh my gosh. So yeah, I mean, you need guidance on landing the plane that's going to work, right? That's going to successfully keep you steady as you transition from a weight loss phase to a maintenance phase. And then the real key is support with life beyond the food and the weight within the context of what we're doing here. There's a lot to be said, not just in terms of, okay, now I'm going to coach you in getting a degree in accounting. I don't mean that. But I do mean that there's a lot to say about the fears that keep us stuck returning to the food and weight problem. All sorts of fears. And the ways that we have kept ourselves small. There's a lot of work to be done to transition to life beyond the food and the weight. So this brings us to shortcuts not to take in Bright Line Eating. I'm curious to hear from you now. We're going to turn back on the chat. And it's sharing time. So what we're going to do right now is reflect. Go ahead and type into the chat, what has not worked for you in the past? And what features of other programs sound good, but don't work? And you know what I'm going to do? Actually, I'm going to condense these. And what shortcuts have you taken, or what experiments have you tried in Bright Line Eating that haven't worked? And I know you need this, so I'm just going to go ahead and do it. I'm going to go ahead and put those all onto one slide for you. So just to be clear, the first two there, and I don't know if you can still, there we go. Here we go. All right. The first two are about other programs, right? What has not worked for you in the past? Let me give you an example. I once did that bikini body transformation, where that picture of me from the beginning in the blue bikini, that was from a program that had a pretty clean way of eating that was pretty Bright Line friendly, except that it was 6 small meals a day. That's not very Bright Line Eating friendly. And except that they had protein shakes and bars that were super sweet. Okay, so not very Bright Line friendly. So those were some problems. And the biggest problem was that there was a free day on Sunday. Oh my gosh, I cannot tell you how much that free day messed with my mind. So give other examples of what has not worked for you in the past. We've covered a lot of things about the features that are necessary for a program to work. What has not worked for you in the past? What features of other programs sound good, but they don't work? And what shortcuts have you taken, or what experiments have you tried in Bright Line Eating that haven't worked? So I'm curious to hear your experience with all of that. feel free to go ahead and put your answers into the chat. All right, I think we have a little bit of a delay here, but I think so. I'm starting to see some answers coming in here in a second. It's going to take a second. Again, just for anyone who's tried to register and hasn't been able to, and I'm going to talk more about registration later or next, but just go ahead and refresh the page to be able to register. Okay. Mardizi says, drinking NMD, which means alcohol, occasionally, that didn't work. Drinking NMD occasionally. I see a lot of people run that experiment, and yeah, I'm going to go ahead and stop screen sharing. So, okay. Grazing out of the garden between meals sent me down a slippery slope. Yeah, breaking that meal in quantities line, even on vegetables. Interesting. And, you know, keep in mind, it might sound, well, like, what's wrong with just great, like, you know, and it's not that anything's wrong with just plucking, you know, some spinach or lettuce leaves and putting them in your mouth. It's that an understanding that food addiction is both a substance addiction, sugar and flour, and a process addiction, addiction to the process of eating. And those last two bright lines of meals and quantities heal the brain from the process addiction. And when we start to eat whatever, whenever, suddenly it's a slippery slope, and it, for many of us, it just does not work. It just does not work. tsavorn at yahoo.com says, alcohol as food replacement doesn't work, LOL. Oh yeah, I've seen that experiment run, right? The glass of red wine is a fruit. Yep, so a lot of people find that experiment doesn't work. Michelle L says, not measuring sauces on bright line eating does not work, and not measuring fats on bright line eating does not work. Yeah, and you know, fat is the sort of last place where, still not eating sugar and flour, we can add a lot of what scientists called food reward value, meaning I call it sexiness, right? We can sexify our food a lot by adding more fat. And so the sauces and the fats, extra fats, right? Yeah, not measuring fats, it doesn't work. What often happens if you do the 4 questions, which one of the questions is it messing with your weight? That one will very quickly mess with your weight, which then makes you have to control your weight again, which now you're back in a yo-yo dieting pattern, right? Pamela Shepard Garcia says, I've tried relying on nuts for protein at breakfast in bright line eating. Perhaps I need to find more protein rich sources. That's a great comment, Pamela. I think it would be very interesting to try that experiment. You know what you could do is you could get a very good clean protein powder. The one I use is the Complement, COMPLEMENT, Complement protein powder. Do 1 ounce of that, just shake it and drink it like a medicine, and then do 1 ounce of nuts. So they have equal weight in the protein food plan, right? 2 ounces. So you could do 1 ounce and 1 ounce. And you would, let me just do the math here. You would, you know, something like get, I'm just guessing here, but it's pretty close, 9 or 10 times more protein by doing it, by split, even if you're still getting 1 ounce of nuts, right? But just by splitting it that way, you would get like 9 or 10 times more protein, something like that, okay? And it would make a big difference to your brain. And Kay says, Weight Watchers and Herbalife have not worked for me. Dawn says, reaching goal weight and allowing exceptions instead of adding back in food in set quantities. Dawn, thank you for saying that. That is one of the most common mistakes I see people making, is being scared to add food in properly, like in set quantities to your formal food plan. But then the brain knows that you've run out of excess adipose tissue to lose, and it starts forcing you to eat more. This is where we think we made a decision, right? But it's the brain tricking us to eat or to breathe, right? It's the brain tricking us, and suddenly we're breaking our lines and we're grazing here and there, never properly transitioning to maintenance and giving maintenance the due respect it deserves doesn't work. And suddenly the whole system unravels, and suddenly you've lost your freedom. Suddenly you're back in diet mode. It's a disaster. I agree, Dawn. And, you know, no harm, no foul. And having lived that experience, it becomes a really helpful experience for you now in the future. Sonia DeMarchant says, exercise to promote weight loss hasn't worked. That's right. Exercise is pretty useless for weight loss, unfortunately. Kathleen in Utah says, intuitive eating, taught only eat when you're hungry, stop when you're satisfied. Yeah, I ran that experiment too. That one did not work for me. Irene says, just eat as much as you want as long as it's vegetables. Right. The problem with that is that it keeps the addiction to eating, the process addiction, alive, right? There's substance food addiction and process food addiction, addiction to the process of eating. It's why I don't recommend that people chew gum, because it just keeps it keeps that thing alive. tsavern@yahoo.com says, counting calories doesn't work. Over exercising doesn't work. You can't outrun the fork. True that. Connie says keto worked at first, but too restrictive. Sarah Gale too says, ideal protein helped me to lose my weight, but did not work in the long term because maintenance wasn't possible for me in that way as a 10 plus on the susceptibility scale. Kenya says, anything involving moderation doesn't work. Treat meals, treat days, they don't work. For bright line eating, trying to do it alone and telling myself I don't need community doesn't work. Kenya, thank you for sharing that. I think this is another one of the very, very most common things I see people doing, is saying, I got the food plan now. I know what tools I'm supposed to be working. I don't need to belong. I don't need to belong to the bright line eating community. I've read the book. I don't need to be a member. I'm just going to do it myself. Thank you, Kenya. Diane Howard, the 1 day to eat freely on the rotation diet. I ate until I got sick 1 day a week. Oh my gosh, done that. Janet says, snacking permitted doesn't work. Ann Kay says, thinking I could be looser with my program once I reach my goal weight. This is a very big thing in the psychology of maintenance, the push to that the brain will start to suggest that now that we're at maintenance, we could try to be looser with our program. It's so funny how that thought comes in. You're not alone there, Anne. Counting calories as points, because nutritionally it does not work to eat just anything to make the points. Yep, Jill Marchant. Oh, the programs that require you to buy their food. Julie N says, rewarding myself for reaching milestones of weight release by eating NMF or a treat meal. Yes, exactly. That won't work. Cynthia K, trying to game the BLE system. Once I was on maintenance, having NMF and thinking I could keep it off by exercising. Didn't work. Melissa, ideal protein, no maintenance plan. Michelle, winging it when not at home. Didn't work for me. Love it. Jerry Robbins, having one treat a day so that I wouldn't feel deprived. Didn't work for me. Sandy C, calorie counting. Ellen from Brooklyn says, not weighing and measuring. Didn't work for her. All right. The healthy smoothie plan didn't work for Lily Gale. Having NMF on my birthday, says Melissa. Didn't work for her. Didn't work. Often, yeah, the birthday is just once a year, right? Why wouldn't that work? Well, what happens is after that, you know, the next celebratory thing is just a week or a month or whatever away. And suddenly, you know, you have a brain that's suggesting another exception, and then they start coming faster, right? Oh my gosh. Carol says, I've done JJ Green smoothies so many times, each time regaining the weight and more as soon as I return to food. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. I still have someone in the online personality community or whatever that keeps telling me that I should promote her smoothie program, her thing. And I just can't promote a green smoothie program. Yep. Oh my gosh, so many responses. I love it. I love it. I'm scrolling through all the comments and there's just so many of them. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Doris says exactly what you said verbatim regarding the point system and Weight Watchers didn't work. Exercise to lose weight didn't work. I ran 2 marathons, just an excuse to carb load and justify more. Using the 1 plate rule on bright line eating didn't work for me personally. It jacks with my peace big time. I love weighing my food. Yep. Tamara Selly says, when we excuse wobbly quantities by saying I'm avoiding sugar and flour, doesn't work. Everyone knows that quantities matters. Sometimes we forget. Thank you, Tamara. Yep. All right. Jill Marchant says, what didn't work was the Easter Sunday brunch experiment. When I decided to enjoy this very nice and expensive buffet, including NMF, but only eat that meal for the entire day. So I did enjoy all the foods, but my body did not. I had reflux, bloating, and discomfort for 2 days. Glad for that gift from the universe, and I won't do that again. The pain was too great. All right. And Ellen from Brooklyn says, back in the day, those other programs did work for a while until they didn't. I think I had or have finish line anxiety big time. Thank you so much. Let's go ahead and pause right there because it gets us right back to the point, which is the psychology of maintenance, right? And that all of these things, even if it's about, even if we have the nuts and bolts given to us, which we do in Bright Line Eating, oftentimes we still psych ourselves out of implementing, psych ourselves out of really believing that we need to do it or really doing it. So why does that happen? It's an inner game issue. It's a psychological issue. It's a parts issue, right? So right now, what I want to do is I want to get back to the PowerPoint. Thank you everyone for sharing. And what I want to say, first of all, a lot of success comes down to the specifics of the food, right? That's how we heal our brain in terms of dopamine replenishment, in terms of getting our brain to be able to see our leptin again, right? And these are pictures of foods from online from people doing Bright Line Eating. And what I want to say is waffles and pancakes and processed foods like rice cakes, processed foods like peanut butter, these foods are going to be fine for some brains. And they are going to not be fine for other brains. These are what I would call sexy foods. And the problem is that they can provide enough reward value that they keep the brain from healing fully. And how that often manifests in our world is by our brain suggesting these other sorts of deviations, right? It kind of keeps a level of static around the food or attachment to the food running this high, and it doesn't allow the food to become all the way neutral. And many of us haven't even ever experienced the difference between this. It's not this, it's not like we're just eating sugar and flour and binging, and it's not that, but it's manageable, but it's hovering here. And at every meal, our brain is still kind of looking for the next hit from Bright Line Foods. And we're all eligible for it. I am too. That's the state that I got back in when I was in COVID. Still technically bright, but oh my gosh, every meal I started looking for a hit from my bright foods. Every meal. It got worse over the month. It accelerated and it got worse. And finally, when I started writing my food down and I was well enough to just, we have a food cooling device down in the far end of the unfinished part of the basement. And I started going down there, storing stuff, bringing it back up, preparing it like I needed to, writing down my food the night before, committing it to a Bright Line buddy, the next day eating only and exactly that. It took one day for me because I have really good fiber tracks for doing bright line eating bright, right? Took one day for that to go. But for someone else, it might take a month, right? If you've been monkeying around for a long time, it might take a long time to get really, really smooth. Each brain is different, right? Each brain is different. So I want to now share with you one story of maintenance success. I'm going to bring up here Shauna Keel Murph. And this is her before, and this is her after. And she has been in her bright body now. She started bright line eating in 2017. She's been doing bright line eating now for over 5 years. And I think she was on a Facebook Live or something and said 6 years, and then she did the math and she's like, oh, I got the number of years wrong. But she's been doing bright line eating for 5 years, and she's been in maintenance successfully all this time. This is me and her at one of the family reunions. And I'm going to ask Shauna Keel Murph. Let's see here. I'm going to unmute you so you can talk now, and I'm going to ask you to start your video. Shauna, hello, my dear.
Hello, how are you?
So good. Okay, for some reason you're not coming into my earphones, and that's silly because these earphones are hurting my ears badly. So I want to at least be able to, oh, that's weird. That my system is. Yeah, I can hear you, but okay. Just I want to, yes. Say something else.
I'm so happy to be here.
Oh, good. There you are. Oh my gosh. The system wasn't using my headset either. I've been wearing this thing for no reason this whole time. Anyway, hello, my dear. Hello. How are you?
I'm so good. How are you?
Yes, I'm so good too. Truly, I am. I'm good. So that picture of you, your before picture, how heavy were you in that picture? What did you weigh?
So I know that the highest recorded was 259. I may have gone up beyond that, but I was avoiding the scale at all cost. So, but I was doing Weight Watchers faithfully and got up to 259.
Yeah. And how tall are you?
I'm 5'6".
And how much weight did you lose? What's your maintenance range kind of hover around?
Yeah, so I go between 130, 135. So right around there.
Okay, excellent. So you're maintaining what, 120, 30 pound weight loss?
124, yeah.
Yeah. For how long did it take you to lose 124 pounds? Oh my gosh.
So yeah, so what was really interesting was that I had done Overeaters Anonymous for 5 years and had managed in that 5 years to drop about 50 pounds.
Okay.
And so when I started Bright Line Eating, I was 205. Okay. And I dropped 70 pounds in 7 months.
All right. So pretty fast weight loss. That's fast.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And so 70 pounds in 7 months, which means by the end of 2017, you were in your bright body, you'd had your bright transformation. 2017 was the year of your bright transformation.
Yeah, I began maintenance on July 1st, 2017.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's right. So for everyone here, my history with Shauna is that I randomly selected her as a winner of a contest for the first book launch when Bright Line Eating, the book, launched in March of 2017. Shauna won a coaching package with me. So we got to talk on the phone a bunch and connect. I have to say, I did absolutely nothing in that coaching to cement Shauna's success doing Bright Line Eating. She was already rock solid. What I did do though was I gave her the boot camp, which she wasn't going to do otherwise because she couldn't afford it at the time. And she was doing the 14-day challenge and then again and again and again, just 14-day challenging it because of her finances. So thank goodness. Are you so loving the all access membership now that it's within your budget and you could just do the all access?
Yes, I've already done Grit and Reboot Resume. And I'm just loving it. Absolutely loving all access. But Susan, I wanted to tell you what was interesting was that I really believe that the stars aligned because when I had started on January 17, 2017. And I was only going to do it for the 14 days, just long enough to lose enough weight to get my pants to zip up. But the freedom was so immediate that I just kept redoing it. So weight loss, I was already sold. I was already all the way in, sitting all the way down. So by the time you reached out to me, I was kind of like, yeah, I'm good. I've got the weight loss thing down. But you were so smart because you said, well, so where do you want to land the plane? And I said, I have no idea. I've been in an obese body since I was a little child, so I have no idea. So it was the maintenance that I did not know what to do. And do you know that even in your book, my favorite book, 300 pages and only 10 deal with maintenance? And so it was fascinating to me because even when the book came out, I was devouring it to find out about maintenance. And those 10 pages are dog-eared and underlined and, highlighted and notes in the column, because that is what you did for me, was to figure out, we can all lose weight, because we just keep doing wash, rinse, repeat. It was the maintenance that I glommed onto and was so grateful that I had you to kind of guide me through that process. I was really grateful for that.
Yeah. And over the years, I have updated and updated and updated the boot camp many times. And each time I add more about maintenance into it. At the end of the boot camp, that last module, the last couple modules have become heavier and heavier and heavier with more stuff about maintenance. And all of that really has been a stopgap measure until we would have these maintenance courses that I'm finally creating. Yeah. It's like it's all been waiting until now.
Oh, it's brilliant.
Yeah. So what do you think? So you just said something that kind of blew my mind. You were in a heavy body from a child. You were heavy as a child and heavy as a teenager, just heavy all through your life.
Yep.
Yeah. So this is not a trivial transition for you to go like from a person who's being treated by the world because we know there's data showing that doctors, nurses, see people who are overweight or obese as, probably not overweight anymore because most people are overweight now, but obese certainly as stupid, as lazy, as less capable, as not motivated, right? Tell us about your transition psychologically, the identity, going from someone who's being perceived by the world that way to someone who's being perceived by the world the way the world sees you now.
It's unbelievable. First of all, I was overlooked for everything. I was passed off in school. It was like, don't expect a lot of her, just pass her on to the next grade, even though I was failing tremendously because I missed one whole year in third grade. That's a pivotal grade to miss, but they just kept moving me up because they knew that I was already a struggling child because I was so obese. It was like, don't expect a lot of her. And so as an adult at work, I would be overlooked. I would be assumed, give her the least amount, don't expect a lot. She's really not that bright. And so when I was able to make this transformation, and now more people know me thin than they do obese, it's been a whole different experience with, I no longer cringe when I hear that an old friend's coming into town or we're having a gathering to come, because I would literally go back every single time when I would hear someone's coming to town and wants to see me. And I think, when was the last time I saw them? Oh my gosh, I was 240 pounds then, and now I'm 250. And every single event in my life was gauged on the number on the scale. And so now I just celebrate the fact that you're coming to town. Let's get together. Let's have fun. Let's make a memory, Yeah. So my life was almost like it was on hold for years and years and decades. And now I feel like I'm finally like Rip Van Winkle. I've woken up and I'm finally living my life, the one that I was meant to live.
And Shauna, did you have any fear of maintenance? Was there any part of you that was trepidatious about what it might bring?
I was scared to death because I was one of those that really honored my bright lines during the weight loss process. And so I never ate one baby carrot off the chopping board, never did anything. So then to know that eventually, in order to put the brakes on, food would need to be added. And I thought, oh my gosh, that I'm just opening up the floodgates to just start eating everything willy-nilly. And that was one of the greatest things that I had going for me, was that it just so happened to be you. Not everyone gets Susan Pierce Thompson to guide them through maintenance, but that was what was so beautiful, was that the process that you guided me through was just to add a little bit and then wait and see what happens. Don't freak if you keep going up or going down, just wait and see. And so it was that guiding process that really took the fear out, because I knew at some point the weight was not going to go up anymore and the weight wasn't going to go down anymore. I would stabilize if I just followed the fabulous plan. And I did.
Yeah. Yeah, Shauna, it's such a sweet thing you just said, because now everyone can get Susan Pierce Thompson guiding them through maintenance, right? Exactly. Now everyone gets it. Everyone, exactly. all the information that I have in my brain, all the guidance, all the wisdom, all the experience, it's all being poured into 3 courses on maintenance. We will now have more courses on maintenance than we will have on starting bright line eating, than we will have on doing the inner work in bright line eating. We will be maintenance heavy. We will be focusing especially on maintenance. I'm so excited about that.
Yeah, what a gift. What a gift. A part of me actually is so sad for the people before your book came out. When I would go back and listen to the Maintenance Mondays, and that's all they would have is Marianne and Lynn doing Maintenance Mondays. And I kept thinking, oh my gosh, isn't that amazing that I came right when your book launched, and everybody from 2017 on have had such a plethora of guidance and inspiration. But now with this maintenance course, it is unbelievable what's going to be at our fingertips.
Yeah, totally. So anything else stand out to you, Shauna, about your maintenance transition, about, any aspect of it?
Yeah, so it's no different. It's no different than weight loss, except sometimes you get a little more food. My automaticity is dialed in. My identity is of a bright line eater. I don't make exceptions no matter what. My habit stack is shiny and polished every few weeks. Nothing's different. Nothing's different. The clothes hanging in my closet are different, but other than that, I still prepare my food the night before. I don't trust that the food's just going to appear weighed and measured for breakfast, lunch, and dinner the next day. I do it the night before. I surround myself with community. That was the one thing I was the most resistant against.
Were you really?
Yeah.
You strike me as a real community leaner inner. So that didn't come easily to you. Tell us about your how you got over that resistance.
It was like walking with my shoes on the wrong feet. I just thought, these are not my people. I don't know what I'm gonna say. This is awkward. And then I realized, oh my gosh, this was what was missing. This is what was missing, because earlier you mentioned that. You said that when the rest of the world is eating one way and we're eating differently, we feel like the Lone Ranger. We feel like we're the odd one. But when you know that you've got mastermind groups, Gideon game groups, you've got buddies, you've got homerooms, you've got all these wonderful people that are in unofficial groups and official groups, you are just surrounded by people that make this the norm. And you feel like you're just embraced. It's like, well, of course you're going to take your food. What's weird about that? You've got a wedding reception and you've got your food in your purse. Of course you do. Anyone else would think, you're what? You're taking what?
Yeah. Beautiful. Anything else, Shauna? Anything else? This is gold.
Yeah, no, I just feel like what you said about I don't think enough is talked about with the processed versus unprocessed. And I love the fact that you touched upon that earlier, is the fact that the carb, the fat, the salt, and the calcium and the protein are what we actually are craving. Everything beyond that, our bodies love to break down real foods. If we already put processed foods in, we're going to be more hungry, less satisfied, wanting a party in our mouth. All those things are so essential. That's why the whole unprocessed makes it so that our everything tastes great, our body's working at it, we last a lot longer. So I was really grateful that you touched upon that.
Yeah. Beautiful, Shauna. Oh, sweetheart. Thanks for sharing your experience with us. I just treasure you so much. Keep on keeping on, sweetheart. You're such a gift in our community. I know you help so many people around here. It's another thing Shauna does, gratitude and service. She's got that formula dialed in. She's always grateful.
I learned it from the best.
Always grateful, always helping people. And I'm sure you can reach out. Anyone here can reach out to her and she'll be right there for you. She's just such a gem. Thank you, Shauna, so much.
Thank you, Susan.
All right. Bye
Love
now.
you.
Love you too. Bye. All right. Yay. So sweet. Okay. Let's check out her pictures again now that we've talked with her. Look at that picture of her in the middle. All her life obese. I didn't know that about Shauna from a very, very young kid. All her life obese. And underestimated. Oh my gosh. I've never known Shauna as anything other than a bright, shiny star. It's quite stunning to hear that she was, you know, just a sort of overlooked, forgotten, cast aside child who nobody expected much of. Wow. What a different identity. That shows an identity shift right there, I tell you. For sure. Let's talk about the psychology of maintenance. We've finally gotten there. The psychology of maintenance. So introducing our new course, Maintenance 1. It's the first of 3. There will be 3 maintenance courses. We're going to use Roman numerals for them. So Maintenance 1, Maintenance 2, Maintenance 3. The first maintenance course is the psychology of maintenance, and it will be starting this next Wednesday. And the minute you register, you will have introductory information available to you, a planning and preparation process for you. It is included only in the Bright Lifers All Access membership. So if you look here at this square, this is the tiles in the All Access membership. You've got research and access to the 14-day challenge and the boot camp and Bright Lifers and Reboot Resume and Brightline Holiday and Maintenance 1, Maintenance 2, Maintenance 3 coming. You're going to have access to Brightline Grit. So many things in the All Access membership. So the structure of this course is you register, and the first thing you get access to is the planning and preparation process. Just a few things you need to do to get set up for this course. This is not setting you up to do the food part. Once you're an All Access member, of course, you can just go through the planning and preparation process in the boot camp if you want guidance getting set up for the food part. This is going to be getting you set up for this course, which you can do without even doing the food part of Brightline Eating. And for some people, that might be a good approach. If you have tried Brightline Eating over and over and over again and not had the results that you came for, do this maintenance course, the psychology of maintenance, to figure out, not to figure out, this is not a figure it out course, to get steeped in the true shift so that all your scared and resistant parts can stop resisting and really understand what the transition consists of before you even try to do the food again. Just do this course. You will then, when the course kicks off on Wednesday, April 27th, get access to the introductory module, which is an overview of the big meta topics that guide the entire maintenance transition. And Shauna talked about a couple of them just naturally. They just came right out of her mouth. One of them was nothing changes. What she does and how she lives and how she feels at maintenance is exactly what she did and how she felt and how she lived in weight loss. There's just a few more ounces of this or that in her food plan, but it doesn't feel any different. No different. That's one of the meta things, but there's many of them in that introductory module. You can return to that again and again. And then we will start 8 weekly topics. And the topics are identity. I'm going to go into this like you've never heard before. As a matter of fact, in prepping for, I've already shot these videos. As a matter of fact, the coaching staff in getting together to talk about this identity piece all had a collective epiphany together, realizing an aspect of identity shift that's necessary for a lifetime of peaceful living, the bright transformation that we had never thought of before. That is the crux of the whole thing. I'm not shooting a vlog on it until after we get past this part in the course, because I want you to hear it first in this module 1. It is the crux of it all. I can't wait for you to hear it. It's mind-blowing. And then we will cover a couple of modules on fear, because there's so many aspects of fear that lead to resistance to the maintenance transition. There's mental and psychological mindset things that get us tripped up that we're afraid of. And there's physical things. What if I start getting sexual attention? What if I'm slender and someone could grab me and put me into a van and drive off with me, right? All sorts of, what if I lose all my weight and suddenly I'm attracted to people and horny, right? What if losing my weight lets a cat out of the bag and I don't know how to get it back in? Oh my gosh. All sorts of things that we are afraid of, stories in our head. They're just mirages. They're just, like in a desert, and we're driving in the desert, the ripply water, it looks like water far ahead. It's not there really when we get there, but there's fear that keeps us from making the maintenance transition. There's grief involved. There's loss in making the maintenance transition. Losses that you may not have acknowledged to yourself. But when you acknowledge it, suddenly you're freed up to actually live at maintenance. It does take some grieving. We're going to talk about finish line anxiety, what it is, how to beat it so you don't spend the rest of your bright life futzing and fiddling with those 5 or 10 pounds or 50 or whatever. And we're going to talk about the psychology of our bodies. All of it. The skin, the wrinkles, the shape, all of it. The inner work and our purpose. This is the psychology of maintenance. You get access, of course, to the private maintenance community for support. This will be the group for this course only. You get access to Bright Liners Land, the directory, so you can connect and support. And I highly encourage you to form a mastermind group to go through this course with a small cohort of people discussing the topics as we go. Here's how to register. You need an all access membership to get access to this course. So you need to register for the all access membership. You can, if you are already an all access member, it will be a good idea for you to signal your intention to take this course so you get access to the emails that will be sent out regularly. You want that. So you need to go into the hub. You log into the hub at hub.brightlineeating.com and you go to the maintenance 1 area and you signal your intent. You click on maintenance 1 and you signal your intent to take the course. That's all you got to do. Click on that orange button. If you're already an all access member. If you're not already an all access member, you have a limited time opportunity to go all access with a discount from April 21st to April 27th. Here's how that's going to work. If you want a monthly all access membership, you get everything in the core membership, meaning the boot camp and Bright Lifers. You get all of Bright Line Eating's full roster of courses, including Maintenance 1 and then Maintenance 2 and 3 when they come out, Reboot, Resume, Bright Line Mind, Bright Line Grit, Bright Line Holiday, the Mindfulness Meditation series. the meditation course, the science bundle, and maintenance 2 and 3 when they come out. It's $50 a month. And right now, I encourage you strongly to do the annual because we've got a deal for you. You, of course, get everything that's included with monthly access, but instead of spending $600 if you're paying monthly, right? It's not per month, it's not $600 a month, $600 over the course of the year. If you're paying monthly, you're not going to pay that. You're not going to pay $500, which is what a normal annual membership costs. We're discounting it right now only during this week to $450. That should not say per month. It's per year. You get a 30-day, 100% money back guarantee. So there's no risk. You can get involved and see how it goes for you. And you can click now on the register now button right there on the Art of Maintenance event page, the Art of Maintenance event page. How do you access that page? You can access it right here underneath this video. You can click to register. You can find the registration page, the Art of Maintenance page off our Bright Line Eating website all week long. There's a banner there. So when you click to register, you're going to say whether you're already a member, that's core or all access already, or you're going to say that you're not a member, meaning you're new to Bright Line Eating. That doesn't mean you're brand new to Bright Line Eating. It just means you're not a member right now. If you have questions about any of this, you can scroll to the bottom of this live stream page to find a list of FAQs related to Maintenance 1 and the All Access membership. Scroll to the bottom of this page if you have questions. A lot of your questions will be answered right there. Oh my gosh, I am so excited for this course. So excited for this course. And I've already created a lot of it. And we're going to have panelists who are like Shauna. They've been at maintenance for a long time, and they're going to be sharing their experience on different aspects of it. I am free to answer questions now. I do need a quick bio break. I'm sure I'm not alone in that. So I'm going to be as quick as I can. I will be right here, as soon as I can with you. Go ahead and start getting your questions into the chat. Any questions about anything? It's Ask Susan Anything time. Of course, if you have questions about Maintenance 1 or about, all those folks who are on the fence from the poll, the fence is not a comfortable place to sit. We need you off there. So I'm happy to help you decide, is this right for you or not? You probably have your own specific circumstance. I'm happy to answer questions related to your circumstance. I will not convince you to join the course if it's not right for you right now. My interest is your well-being. So any questions about the course, happy to answer. I will be right back. It's just going to be like a minute or two. Just give me a second and I'll be right back, and I will start the Q&A portion. See you soon. All right. Q&A time. Q&A time. You ready for this? What are your questions? Okay. Oh, I have a correction to make. Our money back guarantee is 14 days, not 30. Our money back guarantee is 14 days, not 30. This changed when we introduced membership in November. 2 weeks is plenty of time to get a sense and know if it's right for you. So just so you know, it's 14 days, not 30. I'll change that slide for Sunday. Okay. Lots of comments, sweet comments. Diana says, I am in my right-sized body with some help from Bright Line Eating concepts, but I'm still struggling to maintain emotionally despite being in a right-sized body. Sounds like this course is going to be great for you, Diana. Luann says, I know that we need the psychology. Yes, we do, Luann. Sonia says, I'm hi from St. Charles, Missouri. I started Bright Line Eating in January of 2018, released 75 pounds over a year, and then slowly regained it all back over the pandemic. I did the Reboot Resume course, and I've been beautifully bright for over 100 days and now have a big support network. I'm so relieved to be free of obsessive food thoughts, and I'm ready to learn how to prepare for maintenance. Okay, give me a second here, everybody. I just gotta communicate with my team for a second. Okay. Janice, oh my gosh, must be new. Janice is asking, what is NMF? Oh, sweet Janice. NMF is an acronym that we've created in Bright Line Eating. It means not my food, and NMD means not my drink. And that is to signify, you know, fill in the blank, whatever specific foods that we have bright lines for that we don't eat, you know, specific drink. NMD usually means alcohol related drinks, right? And I did mention specific foods, and I did have pictures of specific foods in this presentation, and I do in my books as well. But within our Bright Line Eating communities, so once you join the maintenance course and you're on the inside of that community, people won't be mentioning specific foods. They'll be saying NMF. And the reason is that research shows that people who are higher in terms of susceptibility to food addiction and cravings are more sensitive to the cues that that surround triggering foods, and that includes their name and their pictures and all that stuff. And so we protect our brains within our community by not having pictures or words of those foods in our community. So, you know, someone would say, I ate some NMF, instead of saying what specifically they ate, for example. Bill C says, what can I do as a spouse to help my wife? It's a great question, Bill. If you want to type in some follow-up information for me, that might be helpful. It depends on if your wife does Bright Line Eating or not. If she doesn't do Bright Line Eating, does she know about it? If she does, then the biggest thing you can do is provide her exquisite, unconditional love exactly as she is right now, and surrender to the fact that she may never do Bright Line Eating, and love her exactly as she is. And just understand that some people just don't, for whatever reason, they don't have it in them to do this way of life. And it's really a legitimate choice, right? This is something that people have to choose for themselves. And knowing even a little bit, having the static in her mind that you want her to do this isn't going to feel good to her, and it's not going to be helpful to her. Because you're so close to her, there's actually nothing at that point that you can do to help her. If she is, if she's not aware of Bright Line Eating, you could let her know about Bright Line Eating. And if she already does Bright Line Eating, then what you can do to help her is you can be flexible you know, when, for example, eating out would be too much for her, be flexible and stay home with her. You can fix your own food if it would be a load for her to make you food as well. Or you can make up, you know, a big, you know, grill up a bunch of chicken, or cook up a big pot of vegetables or whatever. If it would be helpful, then have them in the fridge. And then you can, if that's something you would want for yourself, right? And then she can, you know, take 4 ounces of chicken out and weigh it and microwave it for lunch, and then she's all set there. You can express to her frequently that you love her and appreciate her. You can learn what her love languages are, and love her in those ways that will land specifically for her. I think, you know, if she's a member, there's a video for friends and family. It's about half an hour long, that she does do bright line eating, and I'm reading the book now for her. That's a great thing, Bill. That will go way further than the friends and family video. If she does do bright line eating, if she's a member, ask her for the friends and family video. It's one of the bonus materials from the boot camp. I think reading the book so that you understand her better is great. I think the main thing, Bill, is keep in mind forever and ever. Oh, another thing you can do is take the quiz. Take the quiz, the susceptibility quiz. You can get that at foodaddictionquiz.com. And Bill, what that'll do is it'll give you a sense of the gap. Learn what her susceptibility score is. It'll give you a sense of the gap between how your brain responds to food and how hers does. And just have infinite respect for the fact that your experience might be with food, might be radically different than hers. Radically. She is likely battling something that you might have no idea about. Her brain might be pushing her in ways that you just don't experience, you know, something that's pretty easy for you. Stop eating when you're full. You know, it doesn't work that way for her. So learn what the gap is in your susceptibility score versus hers, and just kind of remind yourself a lot that you don't get what she's going through, not from lived experience. So try to, if you want, then you could ask her about her experience and try to like really let that sink in, that her experience is very different than yours. Okay. Kenya says, and just how sweet are you to be on here asking that question, Bill? Just really. I'm shaking my head like you can see me, and my score is 2, and Erin's is 10 plus in her words. Okay. So yeah, I'm a 10 plus as well, and my husband's a 3, and it's a big deal. It's a big deal. That difference is a very big deal. So as you read the book, just understand that the things I'm describing in there, that's her experience. And it's a nightmare of a problem to have in this society. It really, really is. So one thing you can do is just understand that the solution she's chosen, it's not extreme for her, right? This is as logical and sensical as a 3-pack a day smoker deciding to quit smoking. It's as healthy, it's as rational, right? There's no wisdom and moderation when you've been smoking 3 packs of cigarettes, you know, to have a moderate amount of cigarettes at a concert, 1 cigarette. No, that's not a good idea for someone with lung cancer who used to smoke 3 packs a day. In the same way, you know, eating a little this or that at a party would be as catastrophic as, you know, the person with lung cancer picking up a cigarette again. So just keep that in mind, right? Society isn't gonna teach you yet. You know, society is kind of slow on the uptake when it comes to the science of food addiction, but that's the reality of it. So just come to have huge respect for it. I remember it was my husband's birthday earlier this month. He turned 50, and we went out to dinner with some sweet old friends, and they brought him, you know, some NMF's birthday stuff with a candle and stuff, and they brought forks for everybody. And the folks we were eating with, they all took a fork and took a bite. And and I made, like, in a private moment with my husband, I said, I'm not going to take a bite of that. You know, I said, that would be no birthday present to you. And he just went, because I've relapsed enough that it causes him tremendous pain. When I relapse, I can't show up as a mother. My whole world changes, right? And his does too, in consequence. So yeah, just understand as best as you can, but also know that you will never understand from firsthand experience. It's just not the kind of thing that you can understand, not having lived through it. So, okay. Thanks for asking, Bill. I just love that you asked. Yay. All right, Kenya. I've been in the ditch for months and I really struggle with isolating myself. I would love to take part in maintenance along with everyone else. I think there is a lot of motivation in doing things with others. Given my situation, do you think it would be okay for me to do the maintenance course, or should I do Reboot Resume instead? Oh, Kenya, that's a great question. Reboot Resume is the course that specifically is about getting out of the ditch. I have a question for you, Kenya. Do you think that the crux of the issue is that you really need a strong resume now? Or do you think that the crux of the issue is more global, that you have deep-seated avoidance around succeeding at this finally? Because if it's the latter, then this maintenance course might actually be helpful for you as a precursor to Reboot Resume. But if what you really just need is a strong resume, I would say get into the all access membership, get into your homeroom, and get a cohort of people to go through Reboot Resume with you. You know, at least a group of 4 of you that meet every week, going through that course on Zoom face-to-face together at the same time every week. It's really your call, sweetheart. There's no wrong answer. Both of those courses will be tremendously helpful for you. Sharon M says, should we take the bootcamp course first and get to or close to maintenance before taking this course? Sharon, if you're brand new, that is a very reasonable approach. That is a very reasonable approach. You could take the bootcamp course first and then do this maintenance course immediately. You do not, everyone hear me, you do not need to be close to maintenance at all before taking this course. This is a psychology course for people who are not close to maintenance, for people who are somewhere before that in their journey. You can take it if you're close to maintenance or at maintenance, and you'll get a lot of ahas, but maybe not soon enough to help you avoid some mistakes you may have already made. The sooner you take this course, the better. But you may want to take the bootcamp first, Sharon. And then if you stay an all access member, this course will be available to you. And then you could do it in a cohort. You could get at any time in your homeroom, which you'll have access to as a member. You will be able to drum up a group of people who want to go through this course with you. So I think that's a very reasonable idea, Sharon, is to do the bootcamp first. EHUPRICH, Rich says, if I still have a long way to go before maintenance, should I wait to do this course? I have finished the bootcamp. I'm still over 50 pounds to my bright body. Will the modules be similar to bootcamp? I loved how they were short and very manageable to absorb. Long sessions tend to overwhelm my brain. You should do this maintenance course now. Do not wait. This is designed for exactly where you're at. I love that you have over 50 pounds to your bright body. That's the perfect time to do this course. The modules will be very similar, exactly similar to bootcamp. One module will come out a week and they will be short chunks, just like bootcamp. So enjoy. Yvonne says, my question is, and has been for a long while, are there any community options for Brightline eaters who are opposed to joining Facebook? Yes, Yvonne, there are. So our directory now is not in Facebook. So you have access to the entire Brightline eating community as a directory that's not in Facebook. And you can use that directory to form your own group in WhatsApp, in Marco Polo, in an email thread, however you prefer. And that directory is searchable by filters, including filters for people who are looking for other small groups to join outside of Facebook. So that's how you do it. If you need more guidance on how to do that, ask our support center. Okay, so you go to the website support.brightlineeating.com, and then you submit that question to them and they can give you instructions on exactly how to do that. And you need to be a member to have access to the community, to the directory. Judy McElvray says, how much longer does this presentation go on? I'm just going to do Q&A now, sweetheart. So you can take off anytime you want now that I'm answering your question. And I don't know how much longer I'm going to do Q&A for. Part of it depends on how my energy holds up and how many questions people have, because I like to answer people's questions. It's a pleasure for me. And can you tell us how long each of the modules will be so I know how much time to set aside? The modules will tend to take under an hour total each week, maybe even more like half an hour each week. In little, you know, the videos will be short, like an average of 5 minutes each, short. And so you'll be able to consume them in little bite-sized chunks whenever. However, there will be once a week also a 2-hour Zoom that you can attend or not as you like. It will be a panel discussion with people who are at maintenance for a long time, including our Bright Line Eating coaches, and a Q&A session. And you can attend that if you want to. IFS stands for Internal Family Systems, and it's a way of doing inner work. It's a mode of psychology. It's actually a branch of psychology. And what it refers to is that we have different parts of us. We have one part that feels this way, like we have a food indulger part that wants to eat excess food. We have a food controller part that wants us to stick with our Bright Line Eating program, right? And those two parts are often at war. We have a caretaker part that wants to give and please and take care of others. We have an isolator part that wants us to not reach out and get the support we need, that sort of thing. That's internal family systems. Okay, Gail from New Jersey says, I've been struggling lately and I'm nowhere near maintenance, but I did sign up for the course. I'm trying right now to resume. Do you think the course will be of benefit to helping me get my mind in the right place? I'm tired of fighting with myself. I do think so, Gail. I do. And I think it will work way, way, way better if you do it with a group of people, a small mastermind group of people. Get 3 other people together and meet once a week at the same time on Zoom and don't go through the materials together, have gone through the materials already and discuss them. That's my prescription. I'm a doctor taking out my prescription pad, handing you the sheet. That's what I want you to do. Janice says, I pay $20 a month. Can I do the maintenance course, maintenance 1? It looks like I have to pay more. Yes, Janet, you're correct. You need to be an all access member, which is $50 a month. Or if you pay $450 right now, you can get the all access membership for the whole year, and that will save you $150 over the course of the year. And if you're paying $20 a month, you will pay a little less than $450 because you'll get a prorated credit for the portion of the month that you still have since you paid $20 a month. So you'll get a small credit. Liz G says, I've been following you and Bright Line Eating for a few years now, but I'm scared to commit. I've lost 3 stone. Sorry, I'm in the UK. That's 42 pounds on a keto plan, but 12 pounds still to go. But I can't seem to give up NMD for more than 2 days. Can Bright Line Eating help me? Yes. And we do have a group that focuses on letting go of alcohol. You might also consider going to AA if you have a hard time going more than 2 days without a drink. You know, in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, it says, you know, if when you start, you can't stop, or when you try to stop altogether, you find that you just can't for any length of time. You keep restarting. You might be alcoholic. You might want to consider that as well. But yes, I think if you do, you know, again, the fence isn't a comfortable place to sit, right? Like we get all kinds of wonky results when we don't come all the way in and sit all the way down. So that's what I invite you to do, Liz. I invite you to come all the way in and sit all the way down. Julia Wiedemeyer says, will you consider Bright Line Eating folks who recently transitioned to maintenance for the panelist opportunities for this course, or only old timers? I transitioned to maintenance on December 6th, 2021 with 6 adds to the traditional weight loss plan, and I've been on my long-term recovery food plan for 7 weeks. Julia, send your video in. Send your video in. It will be considered. Send your video in. Judy McIlvray says, did I miss hearing properly? What is the number 5 factor? Oh my gosh, I'd have to go back to my PowerPoint. Was the number 5 community? Which was the number 5 factor? All right, I'll just quickly, just going back, just scrolling back. Okay, I'm doing this a silly way. Let me just scroll back. Number 5. Guidance on maintenance was the number 5 factor, Judy. Guidance on maintenance, on the psychology of maintenance, on landing the plane, on what to do with the food that's different in weight loss versus maintenance. That was that whole piece of the presentation. Ann Kay says, I'm wondering when and if we can start toning exercises in our program, maybe during maintenance, to deal with the saggy skin and limp muscles. And the 2 times that are ideal for starting any sort of real exercise are if you've got a bunch of weight to lose, and you're not like within a month of needing to start maintenance, right? You could start exercising after you've been really dialed into your eating and your bright lines are just so bright for about 4 months. You could start exercising then, assuming you're not within a month of needing to transition to maintenance. That will allow enough time to start a sane, moderate, regular exercise regimen that you don't change around. You just keep it really steady, and then you can be on that through the maintenance transition. The other time you could start is after you've already transitioned to maintenance and your weight's been stable for a couple months and you're not adding or subtracting food, you're stable. Connie says, I just finished boot camp, halfway there with 20 pounds to lose. Do I wait and do this program after I get closer? No, do it now. The sooner the better. The sooner the better. It will save you all kinds of mistakes and headache and heartache. Do it now, Connie. Do it now. Sooner the better. I'll be Exy Girl forever says, been doing bright line eating consistently since 2015. Amazing. Good job. Reached what I was thinking was a body I wanted to be in early 2018 with 106-pound weight loss. Of course, back then, talk of this was practically unheard of. I did get on a couple of coaching calls with you. Sadly, it just didn't stay as I felt I was lacking guidance. While I understand this course will offer that, I am now 55 pounds over that number and curious as to what my options would be. So it sounds to me like this maintenance course, the psychology of maintenance, would be a great start. And then you might want to do reboot resume after that. I think that would be the prescription that I would offer. Jill Marchant says, hey, Susan, we spoke yesterday after I submitted the comment below. You suggested I talk with you today. Here's my original question. So I've been dancing around maintenance for 6 months now after losing 163 pounds. I am in my bright body and I've had an amazing transformation. I'm 5'3" and wanted to reach 130 pounds, but I've only been 3 pounds away from that goal. I was hungry and cold all the time. After discussing this with my doctor, we changed my goal to a range, 120 to 140, and I added tomato soup or broth to my evening meal. So now I'm creeping toward the 140 sigh, and now my program is wonky. I know I will not gain my weight back, but I'm not liking this trend. I think I should start maintenance now and let go of the numbers on the scale. What do you think? Well, the first thing is I would let go of that tomato soup or broth. Those are kind of sexy-ish foods and they're not helping your brain at all. I would get rid of those. I'm guessing your doctor said that because doctors don't know anything about this kind of thing. Maybe to deal with the cold problem. Ironically, the solution to the cold problem is cold exposure. Unfortunately, it's ice cold baths for as long as you can tolerate, as cold as you can tolerate, and work your way up. I hate that that's the solution, and I wouldn't blame you if you don't do it, but that is the solution to that. And it will also help with your weight loss because that kind of hormetic stress exposure does help rebuild your mitochondria and make them stronger and get a stronger fuel burning engine going in your cells. I do think letting go of the numbers on the scale is a very good idea. And with how much weight you've lost, I think mentally, I think this psychology of maintenance course is exactly where you need to be, sweetheart, exactly where you need to be. And mentally, I think accepting the transition to maintenance, I think is great. And I think if you need help with the details of like your food plan, I would suggest you get help with the details of your food plan. Hop on an accountability call, or coaching office hours in the membership, right? We've got all kinds of coaching where you can talk live with someone and go back and forth with someone on the coaching staff. Well done, Jill. Loving you, sweetheart. Linda said, you said someone might need more protein to counter hunger. How much more protein? Each person's physiology is different, unfortunately, Linda. It depends, but I'm guessing by your name that in terms of sex, you were born female. So that gives me some information. And I assume you're doing bright line eating. And if you can try arranging your food plan, or try the protein powder for 1 ounce as half of a protein serving thing, and see if you can get 20 grams more protein by following the bright line eating food plan, just picking different options, right? Chicken breast instead of nuts for a protein, or, you know, add the protein powder in, or whatever. Greek yogurt instead of, I mean, the highest, or tempeh is plant-based and really high protein. Add, you know, make sure you're getting green vegetables, that kind of thing. See if you can get an extra 20 grams of protein than what you've been getting, and see if you don't feel less hungry or not hungry at all anymore. Carrie Berry 26 says, is there just one generic maintenance plan for men and women, or are they different? What is the first thing to add to your food? Okay, the answer to that question is maintenance is where the bright line eating plan becomes very individualized. So you will only add back as much food as you need for your body to stop losing weight. And so everybody's maintenance plan is different. What's the first thing to add to your food plan when you reach maintenance, or does every person differ? People really differ a lot in what they prefer to add. I often like to add a grain to lunch for a first thing, or protein to breakfast, a double protein to breakfast, a second one. When you reach maintenance, do you add half of a protein or a whole one, or protein or grain for the first add? It depends. People's circumstances are different, but typically a whole one. Also, will there be a companion meditation in this course? No, but you'll, as an all access member, you'll have access to the meditation courses that we have. C. Consta says, one of my biggest issues is the what the hell effect. I've been successful with bright line eating, lost 40 pounds, freaked out and felt vulnerable at the lower weight. That's the fear thing that we're going to be talking about in this maintenance course. Felt better when I put on 10 pounds, but then I spun out of control and ate whatever I wanted for months, and now I'm back to the original weight plus some. Heavy and stuck in the ditch. I really have a problem with the what the hell effect. What is the most effective strategy for the what the hell effect? So it sounds to me like your issue is much more psychological than you're assuming. I think the issue that stands out to me is that you lost 40 pounds and freaked out and felt vulnerable at the lower weight, right? That's the issue. So the solution to the what the hell effect is to understand the parts that are in play, the war between the food indulger and the food controller in that, which essentially comes from a very rigid food controller that requires a full-blown, you know, when the food indulger finally comes in, there's a full-blown explosion, right? So the what the hell effect is a war between the food controller and the food indulger. And the food controller is afraid that the food indulger is gonna, if you give it an inch, it'll take a mile, right? So it's trying to keep it all together, and then the food indulger comes in and just explodes, right? So working with that polarity is difficult, and it's some of the crux of the bright line eating inner work. But I'm more curious, sweetheart, about your vulnerability at the lower weight and the work that is around that. I think a course on the psychology of maintenance would be very, very helpful for you right now. Very, very helpful. Ellis Camilla says, I have dropped out to a fringe person. I can do bright line eating for a short time, but when I get too busy or there is a lot of stress, the snacking returns. I'm at another transition time. We are moving cities. And although some habits remain, like food I prepped during your talk today, and I consistently eat bright line eating meals, the snacking on NMF is back. I find myself not wanting to do the course or write down food or any type of commitment because I'm scared I'll fail and the shame is too much for me to carry to keep failing. What do you suggest? Oh, sweetheart. Well, this course might really be a blessing because it doesn't require that you do the food part. And it sounds like you have, parts of you that have resistance to doing any more of the food part than you're doing right now. I suggest you try taking this course and get with a group of people to do it, right? This course does not have a huge time commitment, but get with a small group of people and stay committed to going through the materials once a week. So you'll be connected again. The fringe is not, a lot of it sounds like what you're going through is the lack of connection. So, and the shame grows in isolation. The shame grows in isolation, right? Like you're not doing anything different than what a lot of people experience, right? But the shame is from not getting it normalized by sharing it with others and hearing their love and their compassion and their understanding. I'm just loving you, sweetheart. I'm loving you. Tony Charles is here. I've had the bright transformation and I've been swinging the pendulum between 170 to 175, but never made peace with being in maintenance. I can tell just from what you just said, Tony, there's no pendulum swing between 170 and 175. That's just the normal ebbs and flows of a human body. As a man, I wonder if really adding back in foods works the same as for women. I have not had success at following the maintenance plan of add-ins. Any add-ins I've made except for protein have sent me straight up the scale from 5 to 20 pounds. I find myself quickly switching back to the weight loss plan to get stable again. I see this as a failed experiment. As yet, I have not found any men who have settled comfortably into maintenance and landed their plane this way. Am I the only one? Wow, Tony. So first of all, there's nothing wrong with just adding protein. If that works, just do that. Just add protein until you stabilize. But it sounds to me, sweetheart, like this course is going to be perfect for you. And Tony, I want you to pair it with getting coaching in the all access on the accountability call, in office hours, on the other specific coaching calls that are available. I want you to get frequent coaching because through this course, we can hack this one for you. We can solve this with you. But you're going to need to show up as a newcomer, as a beginner with an open mind and stay. I really have a good feeling about this, Tony. Stay very open to what you might learn about yourself as you go through the psychology of maintenance and get coaching all the way through. Ann S says, would it be possible to join the core to resume, then jump on board for all access? And would the course be available later? Yes, and you can do that. What you'd be losing is the discount. Like you'll save $150 right now if you do the $450 version of the all access for the year, which will give you a year of all access. So I like that financially. I like that option for you better. But if you want to just do the core to resume right now, do the boot camp, which is in the core. And then if you get into the all access later, I don't know that this course will be available the second you join all access. If you finish the boot camp, it might be. It's going to take us a second to convert the course from a course that's running in a timed way as everyone goes through it once a week, right? To an on-demand course, which is a different tech option where you can just click your way through the course at your own pace. So it'll take us a second to convert it. But yes, there's nothing wrong with doing it the way you said, except financially, it'd be nice for you to take advantage of the discount that's only available this week. Debbie says, I lost my weight by borrowing the book from the library and it didn't cost me anything. Joining these memberships and courses are not financially possible. What does a person do? So the core membership is $20 a month, and that amount is low enough that in most cultures, you would spend more than that if you were breaking your bright lines on a regular basis on food. You got to take a look at where you're thinking about your money is going, right? If you're able to stay completely bright without any of the support from the memberships, then it's true that money would just be money that you're spending in addition. But if you're eating excess food, you're spending money on that, and that money you could be putting toward the memberships. And you get a lot from the core membership. If you yeah, I mean, there isn't a way around the fact that this course is not available in the core membership. It's just not. But a lot of support and connection is, and a lot of you know, the boot camp and all the Bright Lifers materials and stuff. Okay, so just to be clear for Anne above, and for Tony and so forth, for the people that I've been saying, the weekly calls in the maintenance one course, they're not calls, they're webinars. And they're not coaching calls. They're going to be panel discussions on maintenance. And there's going to be some Q&A in there, I believe, as well. But the coaching that's available is in the all access member. Every all access member gets access, and core members too, to a ton of coaching that is available. The accountability call has coaching. All of the office hours provide coaching, etc. Ann S says, how about Facebook? Is it possible to get the support for this course without being on Facebook? Yes and no. So there's one aspect of support that you can't get unless you're in Facebook, and that is the Facebook group. But without ever joining Facebook, you'll still have access to our directory. And with the directory, you can form your own small group in any platform you want, including just talking on the phone or using Zoom or WhatsApp or any other connection mechanism you want to go through this course with a cohort of people. And there will be lots of people looking to do that and you can find them in the directory, which is available just inside the course using your web browser. You don't need to be in Facebook for that. So the entire community is available without any Facebook account. And then you can form your own small group. Jeanette Wanzong says, I am a single mom and my budget is tight. Do you have a scholarship program for the core or all access memberships? No, Jeanette, we do not, my dear. We have lowered our prices so low that they're lower than our scholarship prices used to be. So we already have priced ourselves lower than the scholarship price. For $50 a month or $20 a month, you can get access to our 2 memberships. That's as low as our prices go. Diane Murdoch says, I've been bright since February 5th of 2021, released 110 pounds from my high weight of 275 and 85.4 pounds from starting Bright Line Eating. I think I'm 25 pounds from my goal weight of 140. I'm experiencing a lot of hunger this past month, especially after dinner and early morning. I'm eating the same meals and also my habit stacks are the same. I feel my identity has shifted to being a Bright Line eater, and I feel very happy with my progress. The hunger is a little distracting to my peace of mind since I've gotten so used to eating my meals, feeling full, and not thinking about eating in between meals. Any advice? Oh, sweet Diane, you're doing so great. You're doing so great. I love everything you say about all the things you're doing. So just so you know, hunger through a journey of coming from high numbers can come and go. And it can be very intense at certain times. It can also come and stay. And some of the possible solutions are to add some more protein. So what I would recommend at first, let's see, this past month, you say you've been experiencing it. I would try first, drink 2 glasses of water at night and first thing in the morning and rock and roll with it for another couple weeks. If it doesn't pass on its own, then I would add additional protein to dinner and make sure it's high packing protein, like, you know, chicken breast, tempeh, protein powder. I would just add half a protein serving according to the Bright Line Eating food plan, but add it to dinner because that's consistently when you're hungry is nighttime and early morning. But make sure that half a protein is high octane protein, lots of grams of protein. Liz G says, is all that you just said about webinars, coaching calls, etc., still available in UK hours? Liz, we've made lots and lots of things available in UK hours live for sure. Yep. And yeah, and then the webinar for this course, of course, the weekly one will be available. The recording will be available as well, but I believe the times will be good for UK hours, at least lots of them. Janet Passway Palsy says, thank you, Susan. I learned so much each time I hear you. Blessings. Thanks, Janet. Carrie says, thank you, Dr. Susan, for this upcoming course to help us prepare for maintenance. I love you and I'm so grateful for you. Thanks, Carrie. Petra says, thank you for this wonderful workshop and the poll and the wonderful atmosphere and the loving attention to all the remarks and questions. Warmest regards for you and the BLE team. All right, thanks everyone. That's our workshop. I've got 2 things coming up. I'm doing a Facebook Live on Saturday. That's going to be at 3 p.m. Eastern. You can access the link to that on the main event page for the Art of Maintenance, or you can just go right directly to the main Bright Line Eating Facebook page. And I'm giving a second live workshop. It's going to be slightly different. And it is going to be live this Sunday, April 24th at 2 p.m. Eastern. We're going to dive more into the psychology and the resistance that a lot of us have to achieving maintenance. So I'll be talking about that. You can access that again when it's time, which will be Sunday, April 24th, this coming Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern. And you can click when it's time exactly from the Art of Maintenance event page. So be sure to register for your all access membership. If you're not an all access member yet, there's a button right below this video so you can register. You've got that discount available to you this week and then it goes away. And we will be starting our Maintenance 1 course on Wednesday. The minute you register for your all access membership, you will get the planning and preparation process. So you'll get right started with the course. And of course, if you are an all access member already, don't forget to register to take the course. You go into the hub.brightlineeating.com, and then you click on the Maintenance 1 tile, the orange button right below it. And that registers you, signals your intent to take this course, and then you'll be sure to get all the emails associated with it. All right, everyone, that is our time together. I love you so much. Thank you for being here with me. And thank you, Shauna Kiel-Murph, for joining us today. It was sweet to hear your experience.